Welcome to the show. It's going to be a busy program today. Let me tell you what's coming up, because normally when I do the show, it's holidays. But yeah, it's back to the grindstone. So let's tell you what's coming up. The French Navy has intercepted another oil tanker, this time in the Western Mediterranean. So we're going to get an update on what France is doing there, along with a number of EU countries as well. So there's an interesting situation happening there. We're going to talk to a maritime project leader. Then the big story out in the West Rand are these 400 families out in Randfontein. After alleged attacks by Zama gangs, they've gone to community halls and they're having to live in community halls, sharing just 2 bathrooms. All of these families have been kicked out of their homes. They've been charged and been threatened by Zama. So we're going to get an update on exactly what is happening there. Is this just the failure of the state to uphold its constitutional duty to protect its citizens? So that's one of the conversations we're going to have this hour. Also, while we're talking about looking after citizens and the police not doing their job correctly, the Cape Crisis Coalition has renewed its call for an urgent government intervention to address the ongoing gang violence in the Cape Flats. They're appealing to the Western Cape to declare a provincial state of disaster. We're going to find out if that'll make any difference at all. So that's our conversations this hour. After 7 o'clock, the Scholar Patrol or Scholar Transport will be highlighted again. This is after the Scholar Transport Associations in Lenasia say that they are going on strike today, a standstill following major law enforcement operations that saw more than 60 Scholar Transport vehicles impounded. So finally, there seems to be some law enforcement happening, and those that are breaking the law are now going to go on strike. From breaking the law, we will find out from the Deputy Chair of the Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organization and find out exactly what their problem is there. Then we're going to stay with the learners and we're going to talk to Professor Jonathan Jansen later on, a professor of education at Stellenbosch University. He argues that one of the most powerful promises of South Africa's democracy was that the doors of learning and culture shall be open. But the realities of the 2020s is hitting very hard. Overcrowding at schools, oversubscribed universities, tens of thousands of learners who are legally entitled to education being shut out, not by the law, but by poor planning, limited resources and systematic failure. So we'll talk to the professor about that. Staying with education, the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Education has raised concerns over growing tensions around school admissions. That's misinformation that is happening apparently in KwaZulu-Natal. We'll talk to the head of the department in that province and find out exactly what is happening. Later on in the show, the chairperson of the Commission of Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Communities. It's a very big word. This is a whole issue with Section 22 Committee and religious institutions. We're going to talk about that. There's a lifetime drive ban proposed in Parliament, pushes for a zero tolerance on drunk driving. This is the suggestion that you might lose your license forever if you are caught drinking and driving. 114% increase in drink driving incidents over the December holidays. Going to find out what the plan is there. And then later on in the program, I'm looking forward to this. New year, a new chapter, a new energy. Gauteng has decided that they are going to be promoting itself as a great place for tourists to come visit. Golden Province invites visitors, residents and investors to plug into a destination where ambition thrives and possibility has no speed limit. We'll find out what that's all about later on in the show. Welcome to the program. Jon Gericke in for Tulis this morning. It's 11 minutes past 6.
SABC2 is stepping into a new era, Papa, where every moment tells a story. A new era of conversations with Eintlik Let's Connect at 4:30 p.m, bringing real talk and South African voices. A new era of Afrikaans news at 6:30 p.m, trusted information in the language you love. A new era of family entertainment, Omar Sari at 7 p.m, celebrating humor, tradition and togetherness. A new era of excitement in a new time slot, Deal or No Deal at 7:30 p.m, bringing primetime thrills home. A new era of drama, Pimville at 9 p.m, a brand new powerful telenovela from Soweto that grips the heart. And a new era of flavor with a new season of Color Your Plate with Koo, Sundays at 7 p.m. A new era begins on SABC2.
At Dis-Chem, Get ready to start the year strong with bigger savings and better rewards. Swipe your Better Rewards card to save a massive 165 Rand on Pampers Premium Care Nappies. Now just 424 Rand 79. And get a massive 30% off Johnson's Baby Wipes. Look out for the Better Rewards icon to get an extra 10% off on Better Rewards brands. Offers valid from Tuesday 13 January to Sunday 15 February. Only at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
The citizens want to collect 3 points to emphasize that 2026 is their year.
Matthias Nunes delivers. Haaland's header! Wonderful cross. Superb header. 41st minute. Haaland's first chance.
The visitors, Wolves, plan to reveal a big strategy to shock Sir Guardiola's side.
Mane comes back in field. Tries to strike from distance. Tolu! 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 Oh my word! That is sensational!
This is the Premier League. Catch Manchester City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers on Saturday 24 January at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
The morning brief in brief. Melissa Buta is keeping an eye on some of the big stories happening. This worrying one, Melissa, morning to you first of all. This thing that happened in the Eastern Cape with a shooting of 3 teachers. It's horrific.
Yes, good morning, John. A former teacher opened fire at Ntabankulu Primary School in Zwelitsha in the Eastern Cape after forcing his way onto the premises, shooting 3 educators. 1 teacher died at the scene, another later died in hospital, and a 3rd remains in critical condition. The suspect, who had been dismissed in 2023 and was out on bail for sexual assault charges involving learners, died by suicide also at the scene. Police are investigating the incident as multiple counts of murder and attempted murder, while provincial SAPS leadership has condemned the attack and extended condolences to the victims' families.
It's something we're going to be talking about later with Professor Jansen, Melissa. This issue about once you finish matric, where do you go?
Yes, so quite an issue over here. South Africa's post-school education and training system is set to be under strain following a record of 650,000 matric passes, exposing long-standing gaps between school success and post-school capacity. The Higher Education Minister, Buti Manamela, highlighted that the system offers only 535,000 funded and planned spaces, creating pressure on universities, TVET colleges and community colleges. STEM subjects are a key concern due to low enrollment and weak performance, while TVET and occupational programs are being promoted as vital pathways. The NSFAS will also fund nearly 1 million students in 2026, so that is quite a relief. But also still sad. Manamela emphasized that the system is not in crisis, encouraged vigilance against unregistered colleges, and said multiple education pathways are a strength, not a compromise. So that is the update over there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation with Professor Jansen later on. What time is that? Just after 7 o'clock today. And then finally, Nelson Mandela's articles and things. Nelson Mandela's things. Are they heritage? Do they belong to the family? This is an argument that's happening?
Yes. So the Supreme Court of Appeal has dismissed an appeal seeking to stop Magaziwe Mandela from auctioning 29 personal items of her late father, Nelson Mandela, including his Robben Island keys, hearing aid, ID, and a signed copy of the 1996 Constitution. The South African Heritage Resources Agency and other bodies argued that the items should be protected as national heritage, but the court found no legal basis for this, noting that the Heritage Resources Agency clarifications were too broad rather, and lacked evidence of cultural significance. The ruling upholds Magaziwe's property rights, allowing the auction to proceed. So this was an interesting turn in this case.
All right, morning briefing brief. Thank you, Melissa. It's 17 minutes past 6.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Quick look at your weather this morning. There's an impact-based warning, yellow level 1, damaging coastal winds resulting in difficulty at navigation at sea. That's going to be happening between Port Edward and Kwadukuza in the morning. A fire danger warning over the Free State and central parts of the Northern Cape. There's also an advisory, a heat wave, persistently high temperatures expected in places over the Sarah Baartman, Chris Hani, Joe Klabi, Alfred Nzo, Oatambo, and the Amatole local municipalities in the Eastern Cape. It's going to be happening from the 24th until the 29th of January. Pretoria, Johannesburg, and Vereeniging today, partly cloudy, isolated afternoon thunder showers. The capital 16 to 30, Johannesburg 13 to 30, Vereeniging 14 to 31. Mbombela has morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy, isolated showers and thunder showers 18 to 29. Polokwane, partly cloudy, isolated showers and thunder showers 16 to 28. Mahikeng, Vryburg and Bloemfontein, partly cloudy. Mahikeng 15 to 32, Vryburg 17 34, Bloemfontein 15 33. Kimberley's partly cloudy and windy, 18 to 36. Uppington is fine, 20 to 36. Cape Town partly cloudy, a moderate to fresh southerly to southwesterly, 16 27. George partly cloudy, a chance of showers and rain with a light to moderate southwesterly wind, 15 to 23. Gqeberha's partly cloudy, moderate to fresh southwester, 17 24. East London also partly cloudy with a moderate to fresh southwesterly, 17 to 26. Durban is partly cloudy, isolated showers and rain, a fresh to strong southerly to southwesterly wind, 22 to 27. Richards Bay partly cloudy, isolated showers and rain, a fresh southerly to southwester, 22 to 27. And Pietermaritzburg today has morning fog, otherwise it's partly cloudy, isolated showers and rain, 16 to 28 degrees.
As we celebrate 90 years of existence, SAFM takes you back to the voices that shaped a nation.
Now leave the SABC and see the tower block lit up, 27 stories of light. Move from Auckland Park into the shadow of the Hillbrow Post Office Tower.
This is the English service of the SABC. Here is the news, read by Patricia Carr. A member of the Planning Committee of the President's Council, Mr. Nick Turnich, has been appointed chairman of the Council's Community Relations Community.
90 years of trusted voices. This is SAFM Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
Let's get an update on the story about a French Navy who intercepted a Russian oil tanker in the Western Mediterranean. It was suspected of belonging to Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet, ongoing European efforts to enforce sanctions aimed at curbing Moscow's oil revenues. Timothy Walker is maritime project leader, senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies. What can you tell us about this tanker, Timothy?
Well, good morning, and good morning to everyone listening. Yes, this tanker has been suspected of flying a false flag, the flag of the Comoros, which has been, over the last year, linked to a registry which has been falsely issuing this flag. So basically the country of the Comoros has not been issuing this flag with any real knowledge. And so it's been used by ships which are linked to Russia's oil exports, taking oil from Russia and sailing on the high seas or delivering it to customers using this false flag. It's a real, forgive me for doubling down, a red flag, because it's a real sign of an illegal practice at sea.
Where was it stopped?
So it was stopped just off the south coast of Spain, in international waters, but by the French, with the assistance of countries like the United Kingdom, who have a naval facility at Gibraltar, which is quite nearby. So this vessel sailed from Russia several weeks ago, has been transiting around the United Kingdom and entering into the Mediterranean. The timing of this seizure does seem to be very much linked to what's happening in Davos at the moment, the backdrop of recent United States vessels, seizure of vessels, but also some of the criticism of President Zelensky of Ukraine, I think, has amplified this seizure, because he was very critical of European countries not doing enough to stop Russia profiting from ships illegally carrying oil.
Do we know where it was going?
No, we don't at the moment. It's turned off its AIS. One of the things which it's often It's turned off its AIS, so that's its automatic identification system. This again, a red flag. It's often used to mask or hide its final destination. What it was likely going to do was either going to go to a facility in Asia, or was going to meet up with another vessel in a location somewhere else at sea and transfer its oil, trying to almost mix the oil together with legitimate oil, so to really mask its origins and its final destination.
There was criticism about the way the US were intercepting Venezuelan oil tankers. Is this any different to that?
It's a little different, yes, because some of the US seizures have been against legitimate flags, effectively, Panama and Liberia being one. The Comoros, as a flag issuing registry, does have, like I say, several issues from last year. A lot of sanctioned vessels. So the sanctions which are issued are not issued by, for instance, the United Nations. They're issued by countries like the United States and the European Union and the UK. The United States has often seized it on the basis of its own sanctions. The European Union has done almost the same here, or European countries have done almost the same by saying we have a real suspicion, given we've already sanctioned this vessel and that it's flying this flag, which has already been very suspicious. And the previous practice of the vessel has also indicated that there's enough suspicion to board the vessel. There's no real legitimate Russian claim over the vessel. So, for instance, you would contact the flag state before intercepting a vessel, because you're effectively invading, in one sense, you're invading that country by stepping on board a ship flying its flag, because that flag means that you are legally protected by that country. But the Comoros is not a country which is, like I say, purposefully issuing that flag. There are several rather unscrupulous middlemen and officers who are selling that flag falsely. So effectively, if you've put that flag up over your ship, you are pretending that you're under the Comoros, but you actually have no protection from any country whatsoever. And when that happens, that is a trigger for seizure, because you are a flagless vessel, and a flagless vessel is no different than a piracy vessel as well. It's something which is not permitted at sea.
Not the first time that France has detained a sanctioned tanker. Do we know how many of these boats are on the waters, Timothy?
There's several hundred, and the percentage has been very big for a long time. Estimates range from about several hundred, but the number is always changing as well. It's one of those things to track. The type of vessels which are suspect, we call them shadow fleet tankers. That's a term which applies to many kind of criteria, whether they have insurance, whether they are operating suspiciously or illegally, whether they're very old. Some of these vessels are very old. If they were sailing under another flag, they'd already be scrapped because they're just unsafe. So several hundred at any one time all around the world. The Comoros have had up to 400 vessels in the past. A country like Cameroon is also has several, almost 100, over 100 vessels, which are also in a similar kind of state and under that kind of suspicion. So there's several hundred all around the world at any one time.
Just quickly, politically speaking, you're talking about Russia making money and it's helping the war in Ukraine. What is the big picture here, politically speaking?
Well, politically speaking, the European countries have been really shaken by the actions of the US president and what he's been saying about Greenland and fracturing their alliance, which has been their anchor for security and their own sense of security for decades now. So because of the war in Ukraine, because of Russian actions which create insecurity in Europe, one of the major ways that Russia has been able to finance its war and continue its aggression against Ukraine has been to derive a lot of revenue from oil sales. And so ships going all around the world, like say several hundred at any one time, often illegally or carrying a flag which they pretending is part of another country, means that you're just sitting by and watching that happen. And so because Europe is being accused of being weak and divided, this is a way of demonstrating not just to the United States that it's serious about security of ships which should be intercepted, but it's also taking steps which are damaging or affecting Russia's ability to function.
Timothy Walker, thank you very much. Maritime project leader and senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Morning, Zai. All build up to the T20 World Cup. Getting exciting here.
Oh, yeah. And we've also got the beauty and the brutality of this knockout cricket. John, 1/2 century changed everything with the Pretorius delivering, and this is how the Paarl Royals have advanced. What a wonderful knock from him. He hit 51 of 34 balls. The Paarl Royals knocking Joburg Super Kings out of the Betway SA20 at Centurion. Strong support from Dan Lawrence and Sikandar Raza, who pushed the Royals to 210 for 5, and that was always too much for a youthful Super Kings side who finished on 174 for 8. Now, Paarl Royals face the Sunrisers Eastern Cape, and that will be qualifier 2. More cricket. South Africa suffered a 55-run defeat to the West Indies in their final Under-19 World Cup group match in Windhoek. West Indies posted 233 thanks to 114 from Zachary Carter, despite a superb spell of 5 for 23 from left-arm seamer JJ Basson. The junior Proteas once again struggled with the bat and were bowled out for 179. Let's go to soccer. The Senegal coach, Papa Diaw, has apologized for ordering a brief walk-off during Sunday's AFCON final, saying emotions got the better of him after a late penalty decision. And Senegal returned to finish the match and went on to beat the hosts Morocco 1-0 in extra time, securing their second AFCON title in 3 tournaments. Now, CAF's disciplinary committee is expected to rule on possible sanctions in the coming days. Meanwhile, Manchester United midfielder Casemiro has confirmed he'll leave the club at the end of the season. The 33-year-old, who joined from Real Madrid in 2022, says he will cherish United for life and promised to give everything in his final few months at Old Trafford. And it was a busy night across Europe, which saw Roma beat Stuttgart 2. That's in the UEFA Europa League, while Aston Villa edged Fenerbahce 1-0 in Istanbul. Feyenoord cruised past Sturm Graz 3-0. Rangers claimed a 1-0 win over Ludogorets, and Dinamo Zagreb thumping FCSB 4-1. And there were plenty of draws too, including Bologna and Celtic finishing 2-2, and Brann drawing 3-3 with Midtjylland as the group stages continuing to heat up. Tennis at the Australian Open, Lorenzo Musetti advanced to the third round, while Ben Shelton cruised through in straight sets. And 40 years old Stan Wawrinka rolling back the years to become the oldest man in nearly 50 years to reach the third round of a Grand Slam. That's your sport. We will serve it up again. Top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, EFF leader Julius Malema will be back in the East London Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape today for pre-sentencing proceedings. This follows his conviction for discharging a firearm during the EFF's 5th anniversary celebrations in the Sisadukashe Stadium in Mdantsane in 2018. Limpopo police divers have confirmed the recovery of 2 bodies of persons who drowned during the recent floods in separate incidents in the province. This brings to 21 the number of flood deaths. And the United Nations is warning that more than 30 million Nigerians could face hunger this year due to global aid budget cuts. It says about 3 million children are at risk of severe malnutrition, with conditions already dire in the conflict-hit states of Borno, Yobe and Adamawa. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good morning. We start south coast of KZN with protesting along the N2, burning tyres in the Hibberdine area. Expect some delays, disruption and diversions around that scene. Earlier truck crash at Hammersdale on your way to Pietermaritzburg. That is out of the way. It's cleared and all lanes have been reopened there. Joburg side looking fairly normal. That unfortunately includes a big backlog on the N1 North. Again this morning coming from Eldorado Park through Devlin up into Deepcliff Interchange. Been a heavy first 4 days, and we end with a Friday being heavily backed up as well. And just outside Cape Town, the Franschhoek Pass remains closed. That's the R45 due to the Franschhoek fire. It'll be the long way round between Villiers-Dorp and Franschhoek while that pass remains closed. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
And it's good morning to Ntauling Lechela. Ntauling, morning to you. What's happening with interest rates? I think we're keeping a close eye here. Japan are making some decisions.
That's right, John. Now, Japan's central bank has opted for caution at a time when markets remain sensitive to fiscal uncertainty and moves in bond yields, keeping rates unchanged. Now, this decision follows last month's rate hike to 0.75%, the highest level in more than 30 years, that is, and was widely expected by investors. Now, policymakers said they are assessing the impact of that move while monitoring risks linked to government policy and currency volatility. In its updated outlook, the Bank of Japan maintained its view that underlying inflation is moving steadily towards its 2% target. Core consumer inflation is forecast to reach 2.7% in the year to March 2026 before easing slightly thereafter. Economic growth projections were also nudged higher for the current fiscal year. Attention is now turning to political developments ahead of a snap election, with proposals for temporary tax relief adding to uncertainty around Japan's fiscal path and its implication for monetary policy moving forward.
And big news for TikTok.
Yeah, so we see that TikTok's U.S. operations has a new CEO. TikTok USDS joint venture will run as an independent operation led by Adam Presser, TikTok's head of operations and trust and safety. Now, Presser is a former Warner Brothers executive and has been with TikTok for nearly 4 years. The group's global CEO, Shao Chu, will serve as a director alongside a 7-member board dominated by U.S. representatives. Now, the leadership shake-up comes as TikTok's U.S. operations enter a new chapter after the company agreed to operate under a newly joint venture with American leadership, a move aimed at easing long-running national security concerns and keeping the platform online in the country. Now, under the new structure, the parent company, ByteDance, will retain a minority stake while U.S. investors take management control. TikTok says the venture will operate with strict safeguards around data protection, algorithm security, and content moderation. Most importantly, the app's recommendation algorithm will now be hosted and managed within Oracle's U.S. data centers using American user data.
And what's happening on the markets this morning?
So yesterday was dubbed Taco Thursday after President Trump backtracked on his tariff threats, further reinforcing that he always chickens out. Now, that fueling an equities rally with U.S. stocks closing in the green overnight. A similar mood back at home with the all-share closing 0.6% higher. Resources, however, trended lower, down 1.3% as the precious metals rally paused on risk on sentiment. And that risk on mood also boosting the rand, trading firmer against global currency pairs at 16.11 to the dollar, 21.73 against the pound, and at 18.92 to the euro. In commodities, oil slightly under pressure this morning, but remains range bound. It's at $63 a barrel. And then lastly, in Asia, stocks in positive territory, making gains on the back of the improved market sentiment, while investors on that front also digest that recent move from the Bank of Japan.
Am I buying gold? It's going to hit $5,000
It's about to hit 5,000. If you haven't bought it, hey, I don't know, man. Maybe it's about time.
Is it too late?
I don't think it is. There's still so much uncertainty that's been priced in.
Yeah, Ntawulang, thank you very much. Plenty more business coming up in an hour's time. We'll see what's happening then.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And it's good morning to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Sipho, can we get your views on what happened in Davos over the last week?
Refreshing morning, John, and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. John, this is the 56th World Economic Forum annual meeting that convenes in Davos. This year, the theme, John, is it is a spirit of dialogue. I wonder whether is it a dialogue or a monologue. And when you look at the public agendas, strategic engagements are on energy transition and the issues of security. Also, the partnerships, this is where you have African leaders going, and we saw President Ramaphosa delegated the Minister of International Relations, Ronald Lamola. I looked at few African countries, John, why they are there. Starting with Team South Africa, John, we have to strengthen the issues that talks to our challenges, whether on social transformation, political transition, and also our regional leadership. We are chairing the SADC, John. So we don't just go there as South Africa. We go under the banner of SADC. We have to strengthen the issue of energy support. More so, we had few days without the load shedding, but other areas there is power outages. And what is key, I look at DRC, John. It went there to talk about their minerals, partnerships. We know the Doha process, Washington process of the U.S. Egypt, they went there to talk about their regional strengths in terms of dealing with the Red Sea, the Gaza dynamics, the issues of refugees. Mozambique, they have floods, John, but Daniel Chapo is there to ask for more in terms of energy and mining projects. Morocco, it goes there also talk about renewable energy. It's a stable gateway to Africa. Probably they might even want to talk about soccer, what happened with the Africa Cup of Nations, John. So I think this why this meeting, it was very key, John. It is ending today. It has started on the 19th. That's why I thought that's Africa Update. Let's zoom at an African interest. Why do we have Team South Africa? There is not just a diplomatic, developmental touring. They are representing the region. They are representing South Africa. And it's important when they come back, they share their notes, John, so that people can get the clear tone of Davos.
And big news that South Africa is going to be hosting another one soon, which is great news for the country.
Absolutely, John. But even if we look at that, the issue is that we went to present even the G20 report there, but it is key that we focus on the continent, John, on the region. Particularly that's where we are facing, and also on the domestic challenges that South Africans on a daily basis they are facing. That's why I say those international trips must bear fruits to the local people.
All right, let's talk about the continent now. Voting in Uganda.
John, even if we have passed on the presidential and the parliamentary, we will always forget that local government, it is what I call the cold face of any government in terms of service delivery, management of local affairs. Now, yesterday, voter turnout very low, John, and I think it's the fatigue of the presidential elections that were held last week. But also, they were saying yesterday, the late arrival of some of the voting tools, materials, John, there's delayed. And it seems it's the same like 2021, John, where you'll have a low voter turnout. Others, they're saying, but we don't know even all these councillors or these local leaders. And that also is going to give the voter low turnout. But let's wait and see what the Electoral Commission will say, John. Presidential and parliamentary was 52%. We don't know local government, what numbers will they give about the voter turnout.
And I see Somalia lashing out at the president for Somalis in America.
You know, Somalis in America, they were challenging President Trump in his speech in the Davos, John. That's why I say, what dialogue or a monologue. Trump went to say Somalis in the U.S., they have a low IQ. There's no government in Somalia. And he has been bashing them actually since the beginning of the year, John. And that's where they are coming very clear, saying that actually President Trump violates international law. He doesn't care about diplomatic norms of broader nation. He's pushing racist agendas. And you could see he could not even pronounce other names in that speech where he was long, just rhetoric speech in even Davos of Trump. And I don't think Somalis are wrong for them to come out clear and explain their role and their presence. And they are still sticking as Somalis that we are successful people, and we have got help, and that's why we, as a country we will thrive. So those are the what we call the backlashes coming from Mogadishu against ignorant Trump.
And you mentioned it earlier, there were these floods in Mozambique, 150,000 people displaced.
John, Mozambique is close to us. Even as we know that Limpopo, Mpumalanga, but the government of Mozambique saying 3 provinces affected, 45,000 hectares of crops. That will affect food security, John. And when you look also, provinces that we have mentioned during this week with Tulas, we said Gaza, Maputo, and Sofala. Now, here you have the challenge, John. Let's just say in South Africa, the University of the Land, UNISA, is also doing a drive, John, in terms of collecting the non-perishables. So in Mozambique also, there's a need for SADC and African countries to assist in terms of non-perishables. People have lost their homes. There's no food, issues of transport, but that is managed also by the countries that are there, embassies that are there. I see people of Rwanda who are there. The embassy of Rwanda is helping. Many people are trying to reach out, John, in terms of assisting. Hence, I said, once it's Mozambique, it affects our neighbors in Limpopo and Mpumalanga. Hence, it is important we deal with this climate crisis. Despite that the AU theme is on water security, John, why, when we have floods, you don't have means to save the water? How do we manage this flooding year after year, John? But it's a year of water security.
And what's your archives today?
On the archives, I'm sticking to local, John, and it's interesting. Hendrik Vervoet, 64 years ago, announced the plans to grant Transkei an independence, but Transkei only got their independence in 1976, John. So the origin, the genesis and the source begins on this day, 1962. And that's where you'll understand that the issue of the Bantustan international law, it has been very contentious, John, when you think of those homelands that were created since the beginning of 1976 until 1981. Finally, on this day also, John, 28 years ago, the former apartheid president, P.W. Botha, appeared in the court after refusing to appear before the TRC, John. And all those issues was that in that press briefing, even after that court process, he was still the old defiant self, denying all those allegations, and that he still confessed that yes, he did command some of the attacks, and he said he warned the former President Mandela about waking the tiger in an Afrikaner. And for me, John, that was shocking, because even during his press briefing and appearance in the court, there were people outside protesting about him, to say, rehabilitate, reform, you have to accept this is what you have done. But he kept on his views that he will never appear before the TRC. So, John, 21 years later, those are the effects that you still had during apartheid, post-apartheid days, where people will refuse to appear before the public commission. And that's where today we have Gambin Commission to look at the TRC matters. Asante Sana, John, as we're still leading the Truthization, SFM observing the Education Month.
Advocate Sibu Mantula, thank you very much. In a moment, the results of Zamas in the West Rand.
Babinanuko want to rubber stamp that kumnandi in the top half, while Ezimnyama Ngenkani are highly spirited to make this their season to shine. This is the Backward Premiership. Nisekazini forever. Catch Skukune United versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 24 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Eskom customers, change is here. Eskom is upgrading old electricity meters with modern smart meters, giving you clarity, control and confidence. With your new meter, you'll be able to see your usage in real time, giving you the power to manage your electricity with ease. Smart meters are accurate and help Eskom respond faster to issues. Please allow our authorized installers access to install your new meter. For more information, visit our website. Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
You've seen the story. More than 400 families in Ramfontein have been displaced after alleged attacks by Zama gangs. There's a troubling reality about South Africa's state security and policing capacity. Professor Jacob Mofokeng is crime and security expert at the Department of Criminology and Security Science at UNISA. Prof, good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. Do we have a police and state security breakdown?
Good morning, John, and good morning to your listeners, and thank you for having me. Indeed, we have a challenge. As much as we really don't want to be seen as prophets of doom, but the acting minister of the police indicating the inadequacy of the South African Police Service to be able to respond to challenges posed by gangsterism, especially in the Western Cape. We see now in the East Rand, as well as, these current places that are being invaded by Zamazamas, then we see that the police are unable, with the current resources as well as the budget to be able to respond adequately. Hence, we are talking about these many families that are displaced now, where we see Zamazamas invading their homes, and then where, they are being challenged, the communities, by extortion as well as death threats and random shootings, where we see that they have ample, access to firearms, ammunitions, and hence then, it seems like the government is really grappling with this particular challenge of bringing safety within communities, especially in the East Rand.
There have been, and I'm thinking back in 2022, there was a law enforcement blitz, and you see this in the news, and all the suits will be there and show what the police are doing, and then everything just quietens down again. They move out, and the Zamazamas return.
Yes, that is what has been characterized the South African Police Service. Remember, even in the Western Cape, how then when they brought the anti-gang units, they brought a lot of vehicles and media and all that. And when everything quietens, then you no longer see those. And that is exactly what is happening with policing of Zamazamas. They bring this kind of false hope. Then thereafter, the same communities then will be subjected to all these kinds of intimidations. We know of how over the years, if you look at the key historical phases of intimidation, as early as 2012, we saw how the Zamazamas activities were largely, beneath the radar and viewed as a survival strategy. And around, from 2012 to 2021, we saw how they came up, emerged as heavily armed gangs. And, we know places such as, Krugersdorp, rapes, around, 2022, Boksburg Gang League, 2023, we say Rebellia, shootouts. These are some of the examples showing that, the problem is not really being handled. Look at from 2019 until now, from 3,000, population of Zamazamas to over, or almost now, probably over 40, thousands of this kind of population where it is a clear sign that police are not really adequately capacitated, as well as we don't see political will, for the government to talk with neighboring countries to indicate that, look, the population of the, of the Zamazamas mostly are people that are from outside. We always talk about the lack of employment in South Africa, but the problem actually is more compounded by the movements of undocumented individuals who are under organized crime. Certain individuals are benefiting, and then we seem like we don't have a problem. The only challenge also is communities that are conflicted. You find other people are saying their children are not having employment. Others, they are saying these people are really making, safety amongst us to be very much compromised. So these are the challenges that we are confronting. We need visionary leaders within law enforcement, but also political will, from government to say, indeed, we have a problem, and how do we deal with this, challenge.
All right, Prof, we need to leave it there. Professor Jacob Mofokeng, thank you very much. Crime and security expert at the Department of Criminology and Security Science at UNISA.
SAFM. guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy again on the N1 coming in from the south. If you're in from Protea Glen, Lenasia, it's absolutely jam-packed. Heaviest highway across the province at this stage, the N1 from the N12 Potch Highway through Deepcliff down to Uncle Charlie's, day 5 of 5 days this week. That has been jammed heavily. Durban, a breakdown just north of Spaghetti Junction. Very heavy backlog on the N2 coming up from the M7 highway. And if you're driving Franschhoek down to Verleersdorp in the Western Cape, 45 Franschhoek Pass remains closed. I believe that fire is now closer to the pass than it perhaps has been. Franschhoek Pass closed. It'll be the long way round for motorists between Franschhoek and Verleersdorp. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The citizens want to collect 3 points to emphasize that 2026 is their year.
Matthias Nunes delivers. Haaland's header! Wonderful cross. Superb header. 41st minute, Haaland's first chance.
The visitors, Wolves, plan to reveal a big strategy to shock Sir Guardiola's side.
Mane comes back in field, tries to strike from distance. Tolo! 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 Oh my word! That is sensational!
This is the Premier League. Catch Manchester City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers on Saturday, 24 January at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
What's up? Why is there a horse in your driveway?
You right, Savvy. Why drive a Mustang when you can ride one?
What the missus say?
Well, she had a bit of a long face, but now she's stable.
If you need a backup plan, We Buy Cars can sort you out.
Nah, Savvy, this thing is eco-chic.
Stop horsing around, cowboy. Rather get one of these from We Buy Cars.
What's the horsepower on that thing?
More than one, Doff. More than one.
Don't be Doff, be savvy. We Buy Cars, geared for adventure, geared for you.
Babinanuku want to rubber stamp that kumnandi in the top half, while ezimnyama ngenkani are highly spirited to make this their season to shine. This is the Betway Premiership. Nisekazini forever. Catch Skukune United versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 24 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
While we're talking about lack of security, the Cape Crisis Coalition's renewed its call for urgent government intervention to address the ongoing gang violence devastating communities on the Cape Flats. They've appealed to the Western Cape Premier, Alan Winde, to declare a provincial state of disaster. Reverend Llewellyn McMaster is from the Cape Crisis Coalition, is the chairperson there. Reverend, thank you very much for joining us. Good morning. Apparently you've tried to contact the Premier. What sort of response have you got from him so far?
I think the 3 letters that we sent to him, we have not received direct response from him. We take note of the fact that yesterday after the cabinet meeting that he has indicated that he will approach the Kokta minister as well as the Minister of Police with the request to declare a state of disaster. So yeah, we're glad for that. Although but disturbed by the fact that that we are not there's no direct response to correspondence to the Premier.
Why a state of disaster?
I think, in a sense, we have looked and have heard, of course, calls from different people and activists. One calling for the army to be sent in. There's also a call for state of emergency. We looked at all those and said, one, the army has been deployed in our communities, and there's no clear evidence that it resulted in significant change. The state of emergency is also for us a bit more complicated. So we've also engaged with Kachalia since his appointment last year, and made presentations in terms of what we view the situation with regard to gangs and organized crime is, our analysis and so on. And we've also engaged with the provincial commissioner. So, in a sense, and again, we're glad to hear there's a bit of positive response from the Premier, because we want to change the narrative. I mean, we can't hear the same old while people are dying. And you know, an imam called me yesterday, you know, from a certain area. He says we're picking up bodies every day. And the mass shootings is just an emphasis of the fact that we are in a deep crisis. So we believe that a state of disaster brings another or new dimension to a possible address of the situation. It will mean, for example, that provincial disaster management center will be activated. It will mean unlocking emergency funding and coordinated procurement. It will mean fragmented anti-gang strategies being united under one command framework, and also enable structured partnerships with civil society, including ourselves.
Yeah, you've made a point to say it's not just policing. There's a whole host of other things that need to go with it: housing, health, education, social development.
Exactly. I think this is a fresh approach. It's not just a police matter. There are, you know, conditions that prevail that just feed organized crime and gangsterism and illicit drug trades, you know, and so on. And we want that to be addressed, and not just, you know, be part of speeches by the president, minister, whoever, but that it be, you know, being sort of looked at holistically in real concrete terms, with measurable outcomes. And that is what we're pushing for.
Have you got buy-in from the community? Because that's the first thing gangsters do, is they start supporting the community. There's money involved here. There's threats and violence and all those kind of things. Are the community buying into this as well?
We have already received since end of November, when we made the call, you know, from different sectors. You're right. I mean, this is not going to be easy, because what we call the criminal economy has already established itself in our communities, which means, you know, it's going to be a very, very big task for all of us. But again, what is the alternative? The alternative is to say that these criminal networks have taken over, and there's nothing that we can do. So while we can still do something, we say, let's push back. It's not going to be easy. They're not going to give over, you know, that power easily. But again, that is what we've committed ourselves to work with state and community organizations to push back before it's really reach a stage where we say, you know, there's nothing that we can do. We've lost the course.
Reverend Llewellyn McMaster, thank you very much. Cape Crisis Coalition Chairperson. What do you make of that? Give us a call, 086 000 2032. After the news, we're going to find out about what's happening with scholar transport associations in Lenasia. They say they've brought services to a standstill today, so we'll talk to the Deputy Chair of the Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organisation. Also then, Professor Jansen, Jonathan Jansen, Professor of Education at Stellenbosch University, talking about the doors of learning and culture shall be open, but they aren't. All of that's after the news at 7 o'clock.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Malema's pre-sentencing proceedings to start today, and Julius Mkwenazi's apology before Parliament's ad hoc committee. Good morning. EFF leader Julius Malema will be back in the East London Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape today for pre-sentencing proceedings. This follows his conviction for discharging a firearm during the EFF's 5th anniversary celebrations in the Sisa Dukashe Stadium in Mdantsane in 2018. Malema was charged for the unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, discharging a firearm and reckless endangerment. Lobby group AfriForum's Jacques Broodryk says he'll be surprised if the court does not slap Malema with a jail term.
It's very important to remember that these charges that Mr. Malema were found guilty on are actually very serious charges. If we look at just one example, for instance, the illegal possession of a firearm and ammunition, there have been cases where people have been sentenced to up to 15 years imprisonment for that. So it's very serious charges. Of course, there might be mitigating conditions and circumstances that the judge takes into consideration, but I would be very surprised and I would be very skeptical of the process if we at least didn't see a few years prison time for Mr. Malema.
Meanwhile, EFF supporters held a night vigil last night ahead of the proceedings. EFF Secretary General Marshall Dlamini believes this is a political attack on the party, saying they'll support Malema's appeal on the judgment.
She must not waste our time. She must say what she wants to say. She must bring that sentencing, then we'll determine the next course of action. But one thing they must know, and South Africans must know, and the voters and members of the EFF, is that the president of the EFF in the afternoon is going back to Winnie Madikizela House to continue with the work that he was elected to lead the struggle for the poor and the landless of this country. So we're not even worried. He's going back to Gauteng on Monday. He's got an office to report to at Winnie Madikizela House to continue with the work of the EFF.
Suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi has apologized before Parliament's ad hoc committee after admitting he accepted money from alleged criminal kingpin businessman Vusimuzi Matlala. During questioning, Mkhwanazi conceded the payments were inappropriate, telling MPs that he regrets the decision and has since reflected on the consequences of associating with the wrong people.
I regret it was wrong. And as I've said, that conscious regain and say, but I'm in this field. I chose this field. I didn't go that side because I want to fight this. You see, and I've learned that in life, you don't just associate with anyone. I know that it was before, it was time of challenging, but the money comes from where? And my conscience says, I must humbly apologize and feel that I'm wrong. I don't have a better way to say one is wrong.
The Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Association says it actively engaged with some of its scholar transport operators to prevent the planned stay away. Operators in Lenasia south of Johannesburg have threatened to down tools today, following the impounding of 60 vehicles for various offences, including operating without a proper permit. 3 drivers were also arrested for overloading. The association spokesperson Bongani Ndlovu.
We are in support of this frustration. We are trying to talk with them to they must go to school and try by all means that if we have our frustrations, we have ways to at least put them forward. So we do understand the roadworthy of vehicles and all that. But in terms of permits, because most of the vehicles which have been impounded, we had the report that they were based on the permits which they did not have. But some of them had OLAs. So like it's a confusion on what's happening. Okay. So we are trying to talk with the region not to stay away from school because that will inconvenience parents.
And finally, the United Nations is warning that more than 30 million Nigerians could face hunger this year due to global aid budget cuts. It says about 3 million children are at risk of severe malnutrition, with conditions already dire in conflict-hit states of Borno, Yobe and Adamawa. The UN's humanitarian coordinator in Nigeria says the foreign-led aid model is no longer sustainable. Recapping the top story, EFF leader Julius Malema will be back in the East London Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape today for pre-sentencing proceedings. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
With Outsurance, I'm saving a whole 729 Rand.
Another satisfied Outsurance client saving more money every month. 32-year-old Perushka saves 729 Rand a month on her 2020 Haval H2. And after 3 claim-free years, she gets an out bonus.
Yes, I'm ready for that out bonus.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed Insuring FSP. TCs and information online.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports headlines, it's cricket. Jason Smith earns the Proteas World Cup call as coach Shukri Conrad doubles down. And we go live now to the Australian Open, where Carlos Alcaraz is in control. 2 sets up on Corentin Moutet. We'll bring you all the latest just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Coming in from the south of Joburg, another heavy one up the N1 between the Potch Highway and Deepcliff Interchange. If you're on your way from Lenasia, Protea Glen, down to Uncle Charlie's for connections to the Mike 1. It's heavy as it has been the first 4 days of this week. Queues on the N3 north passing Sprayview. Queues coming in from Boxburg to Springs into the roadwork section by Osborne Road. N1 south out of Pretoria, not looking too bad. On your way to Joburg this morning, typical Friday volumes building up through there. A little bit lighter than the first 4 days of the week. Durban, heavy pressure N2 from the M7, moving through Spaghetti Junction to a breakdown up by Westwood Mall. Absolutely jam-packed. The M13, Hillcrest down to Maytime, looking fairly busy as well. And Cape Town, quite heavy on the R300 between Kales River and the N1 northbound. And if you're on the N2 coming in, it's heavy as well this morning. Traffic sitting from Robert Sebikwe to Hospital Bends. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Jon Gericke in for Tulas. It is the morning brief in a moment. We're going to get an update. You heard in the news there. We're going to get an update from Lenasia. We're going to talk to the Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organisation about what their plans are for today. Are kids getting to school? I know it's a little bit late. School starts in, 20 minutes or so. So we're going to find out what's happened so far this morning and what the plan is this afternoon. This is after this blitz led by Transport Minister Barbara Creasy in Lenasia in the wake of that devastating crash. And then in a little bit later on, we're going to talk to Professor Jonathan Jansen at Education at Stellenbosch University about the issue about many people failing to get into schools, also not getting into universities. We're going to talk about the resultant education crisis. And related to that, we'll talk to the head of department from the Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal. They're raising concerns over growing tensions around schools admissions there, following the spread of what they call dangerous misinformation. This has got to do with undocumented foreign nationals getting places ahead of locals. We'll find out from the Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal what the latest is there. You're with SAFM, it's 9 minutes past 7.
This is Lungi on any other regular day.
This economy makes me post once a day. Who does that? Like, ew.
Now this is Lungi getting extra with the 20 gig summer deal for just 99 Rand.
I have so many gigs. I could even have a gig, guys. I'm going live every single day to me because get friends.
Extra your summer. Get 20 gigs plus 2 months free YouTube Premium and 100 Vodabucks. Exclusively on the VodaPay app. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
What if your child could achieve better academic results in 2026? At Teneo School, they can. Our smart school system tracks every learner in real time and helps teachers spot gaps early. The results? With over 3,500 successful Teneo School matriculants, learners improve their average marks by 12% in the first year. Access affordable private schooling, no restrictive entry, fees starting from 3,000 Rand per month. Enroll now for 2026 at teneoschool.co.za. That's TENEO school.co.za.
SAFM is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
It's 10 past 7. Good morning to you, Jon Gericke in for Tulas. Let's talk about scholar transport. What has happened today? This is after associations in Lenasia said they were going to bring services to a standstill. Deputy Chair of the Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organisation is Mishak Ngwane. Mishak, good morning to you. Was there scholar patrol or scholar transport this morning?
I'm not sure. I can't give any detailed report right now because I'm still at home. I've just checked around my home and I don't see anything happening, I think. But round about after 9 o'clock,
I will be sure, because we are going to meet at Dorothingembe Park at 9 o'clock, and then I will take it from there. But I think, according to what I heard, the people, they are saying they are sympathizing with the drivers that were arrested, the cars that, the vehicles that were impounded, which are 30, and then the 500 plus children that are not going to school because their cars have been impounded. That's all I know for now.
Why are they sympathizing with people that are breaking the law?
Nobody's. Listen. We've got processes with the government, right? That we must apply for all us operating licenses. That is exactly what we did, and it didn't start just there. It started when we digitalized and we do all the processes that the government required us to do. And after that, they didn't tell us that they are going to impound our cars, because they also said to us, your cars are scraps. They know. And then, yes, they also know. They are very much aware that our cars are not in good condition. That is why they have asked us to take the cars to testing stations around Soweto for them to be tested, so that they will tell us the defects, and then we go and fix the defects. Then we'll go back for the cars, for our cars to go for the second time. And then if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't pass, then they tell you also. Right? So just I was with them in one of the testing stations in Jablan, where they said the minister will be coming. It will go around with us in Lenasia to survey the area. And then I was only surprised yesterday morning when I see news from Africa that the people are arrested. I said, but we've made an arrangement. We need to start with the arrangement and then act. So we didn't take, it's like we were selling our people to the government, and that is wrong.
I'm still confused. If my car is not roadworthy and I get stopped by a policeman, they're going to impound my car and they're going to arrest me for driving a car illegally on the road. What's the difference?
No problem. Your car, I'm talking about the public transport that is
so what's the difference?
The public. Yes. It's not like my personal car. It's a public. So we are engaging with the government in terms of fixing those cars. You remember with the taxis, they did the recap of the cars. Mm-hmm. Why did they do the recap of the cars? It's because they knew that the cars were not in good condition. They asked the taxi people to bring their cars to them so that they can recap them. So we've been asking that with them, that they must do that with us. Mm-hmm. Okay? So they never said no. They never said no. We are still in the process of discussing all those things. But in the meantime, they said, okay, fine, we know that your cars are not in good condition. Take them to Midway testing station, take them to Jablani testing station for them to be tested. Okay? So these people, they went to deliver the children at Lens and then go to Jablani for their cars to be checked so that they can fix their car. There's a process that is in place.
You use the word,
then the people are arrested.
You use the word in the meantime. In the meantime, you're putting children into vehicles that are unroadworthy and are hazardous, and children are dying. Do you not feel that as an organization you should go, we're taking these vehicles off the road to stop children dying?
Sorry, sir. We don't have to mix issues here. Unless there was no accident, there was no car that has killed the children. So you can't take something that happened in Vanderbijl Park where we are not existing. We don't even know what is. Lens people do not even know what happened in Val. The police are still investigating that. Let's leave the law to investigate. Let us not come with conclusions. Let us wait until we get what exactly happened. Then we'll take it from there.
What is the Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organization doing about managing their drivers and alleged illegal driving, moving violations?
Yes. No, we are doing everything. Like any other public road management. We are checking our cars, we are doing everything, but we are not professionals. Only the law enforcement is professionals. So if they tell us that your cars, they have problems, take them to our station for them to be tested. That's exactly what we did. While we're in that process with our people, then they come and arrest us. So that's what happened. So if I was a worker also before in a corporate work, if we go to negotiations, we are not going to strike. We are not doing anything. We go for negotiations. Let us wait until the process of negotiations is completed. Then from there, you can arrest people if they go to strike because they have engaged with you properly and legally. and then now they go to an illegal strike. Then I was in corporate. I know those things. So nothing like that has happened. The government misled us. If I can tell you the scenario quickly, they told me in Jablani day before yesterday that the minister will be in Lens. Then I agreed with them that, okay, fine, let's go. We'll be with the minister, the deputy minister, and the MECs. And then in the afternoon, right about 7 o'clock, they phoned me. They told me that the meeting has been cancelled. Then I also told my people that, no, look, there's nothing that is going to happen in Lens because the meeting has been cancelled. Then, boom, the MEC, the minister, the deputy minister, they are in Lens arresting people. Do you think is that fair? Even if the person is not doing the right thing, is that fair to
If
lie
the
to
vehicles
a
are breaking the law, Mishak, then they're breaking the law. I need to wrap it up quickly. Will scholars be able to get home from school this afternoon? And if not, when will we find out from you?
Yeah, what I know now is that we are going to discuss, because yesterday our members said we are not going to school. To our members, we never said children must not go to school. We said our members are not going to wake up this morning and take children to school. Let it be clear. And then on Monday, everybody must take children to school. And that is what is discussed. But any other thing will be discussed today from 9 o'clock at Dorothy and the Park in Soweto.
Mishak Ngwane, Deputy Chair of the Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organisation. What do you make of that?
This message is brought to you by Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Hey South Africa, want to keep your lights on and save money? Let's use electricity wisely. It's easier than you think. Switch off lights when you leave a room, unplug chargers and appliances, and use energy-saving bulbs. They last longer and use less power. Every little bit helps for your home, your wallet, and our planet.
Let's make it a habit and use electricity wisely. Eskom.
Why is there a horse in your driveway?
You ride savvy. Why drive a Mustang when you can ride one?
What the missus say?
Well, she had a bit of a long face, but now she's stable.
If you need a backup plan, WeBuyCars can sort you out.
Nah, savvy, this thing is eco-chic.
Stop horsing around, cowboy. Rather get one of these from WeBuyCars.
What's the horsepower on that thing?
More than one, Doff. More than one.
Don't be doff, be savvy. We buy cars, geared for adventure, geared for you.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
18 minutes past 7. Jonathan Jansen, Professor Jonathan Jansen, argues that one of the most powerful promises of South Africa's democracy, the doors of learning and culture shall be open, is colliding with the hard realities in the 2020s. Professor of Education at Stellenbosch University, Professor Jonathan Jansen joins us. Good morning to you, Prof. What are the realities of the 2020s that are hitting us?
Well, the big reality, as I wrote in the Times article, is the fact that there are tens of thousands of young people, both at school but especially at university, who believe the promise, that we have an open and accessible and equitable school system, but it's not, of course, the case. So there's a lot locked out. There are still students waiting to hear whether they were accepted, at university, despite having a bachelor's pass, and many of them will go without a place in university, and that is a tragedy for a country like ours.
We don't have enough universities. We don't have enough schools. So is that the solution? Just build more?
Absolutely not. We have to separate the two kinds of institutions. So in the case of universities, to build more universities is trying to solve this problem at the wrong end of the stick. Mm-hmm. The problem is that we have far too many young people passing a low-grade national senior certificate, in which it is far too easy to get a bachelor's pass. That is the pass that on paper qualifies you for university entrance. What we should be doing is have a tougher exam so that those who pass are able to succeed in the first year of university, get to their degrees on time, that is within the minimum time, and in the process have a much more efficient system that also saves us enormous amounts of resources. Then we can begin to talk about additional institutions.
The problem... Universities will only take the top scholars. So why does changing the matric make a difference?
It makes a difference, first of all, in terms of the false hope that we give students, So, I sit every day with students, like yesterday, and I look at their certificates and they got a bachelor's pass, and there's nowhere in hell, that they should be going to university if you just look at the distribution of marks across the 7 subjects. And so on. So first of all, you take away this false hope. Secondly, you begin to build a system that is competitive with schools and universities across the world. That's what we're trying to do. And thirdly, you're beginning to put into the system the kinds of young people that can lead us, that can power the economy, that can give us a more decent society as leaders, and so on and so forth. But this notion of massification has gone too far. Not because I don't believe kids must finish high school, but that not all of them should finish in such a way that they go to university. There are many other kinds of institutions, many other kinds of options. So you need to have a broad general school leaving certificate at the end of grade 12, in my view, and then you have to have a small elite group that goes to university on the basis of strong marks in mathematics, in physical science, in accounting, and in the subjects that really make a difference in society.
Prof, the one thing you talk about is TVET colleges, this redirecting students to TVET colleges. You've warned that this creates a second-tier system that entrenches inequality. What do you mean?
At the moment, yes. So if you go to Germany, just to take the typical example for technical and vocation and advanced technical education, you have 3 things in place. You have, first of all, institutions with outstanding technicians and technological teachers. Secondly, you have the kind of equipment that is absolutely world-class, in which you can learn about automotive engineering, and so on and so forth. And thirdly, you have a culture within those institutions that is a consequence of the first 2, in which that kind of institution becomes attractive. South Africa has neither of those 3.
Unfortunately, we need to leave it there. That's a long conversation to be had. Professor Jonathan Jansen, thank you very much. Professor of Education at Stellenbosch University. That deserves a long conversation about the future of education. Where our scholars come from. Do we change the whole system? I'd like to get your views on that. 086 000 2032.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
We're going to go to, are we going to the head of department of the Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal now, in Nkosinathi and Qobo. This is after the concerns over growing tensions around school admissions. This is the spread of what they call misinformation. In recent days, false claims circulating on social media have suggested South African children are being forced to give up school places for undocumented foreign nationals. Nkosinathi, good morning to you. Thank you very much. Is that not true? Are kids not being forced out of school?
No, it is not true at all. It's not true at all. No South African child has been denied a place in school because of the space being occupied by a foreign learner. So it's just totally not true.
So why are parents at Addington Primary School protesting?
You see, the issue of Addington Primary School is complicated by the marchers who are, spreading false narratives out there. One, the marchers demanded that we must admit at Addington Primary School about 66 children that they had in the list. Now, first of all, when we scrutinized that list of 66 children, we found that actually most of them had been admitted in other schools and in fact had attended school when schools reopened. But on a particular day, the marchers or the parents took their children out of those schools, which are in the Durban area, in the city of Durban as well. In other words, they are not far from where Addington Primary School is. So they want their children to be admitted at Addington Primary. They had not applied. None of them is saying that they had applied and they were rejected. It's children who have schools and who were admitted in other schools within the city of Durban who now demand to go there. But the interesting thing is, even in their list, 20 of that 66 are foreign children which is actually, confusing now, because on one hand, they are saying the spaces are taken by foreign children. On the other hand, in their own list of 66, there are 20 foreign children who are seeking space there. And they are being negotiated for by the same parents or by the same group of matchers.
Shouldn't South African scholars be given first preference at a school that is close to them? For example, Addington Primary School. Why are foreigners getting there? Surely South Africans should be first, put the foreigners at another school where there is space.
And unfortunately, as a Department of Education, we follow the law and the constitution of the country. In terms of the constitution of the country, every child has a right to education. And the courts have, in many instances, defined what that every means. And they've said it means everyone, including foreigners. But of course, the argument that says South Africans must be given place first, it does make sense. But in terms of the law, if children have applied to a particular school and there is space, we give them space without necessarily considering whether they are foreign or not.
So the law is not protecting South Africans. If you're following the law, then the law is not protecting South Africans.
Yeah, when the constitution everyone, it means everyone. It doesn't say everyone except foreigners. And that's how we look at it as a Department of Education. The other issues of whether the parents of these children are here legally is a separate issue at all. There, it's an issue for Home Affairs and for law enforcement officers and for border control, officers to ensure that people who get into the country do so with legitimate documents. That's a separate issue. But for us, our interest is the children. We are not really disputing the fact that South African children should actually get first preference. Now, if, for instance, we're talking about people who had applied and were rejected on the basis that the spaces were fulfilled by foreigners, that would be a different thing. But here, we're not talking about children who applied and were rejected because spaces were filled. Remember, these foreign children who are there, who are not the majority as it is claimed. They are in different grades. In other words, they've been in Addington Primary School for years. I mean, some are in grade 7, grade 6, which means it's not like they were admitted now in 2026, and therefore the argument that says there is space that is being occupied by them, denying South African space is not entirely true. But nevertheless, that's not where we are. All we want is to assist all our children to ensure that they get placement. And we have succeeded in doing that. It's just that parents are wanting now to transfer their children from the schools that where they've already been admitted and where they've already attended. They want their parents to go to Addington Primary. And they are using this narrative that the reason why the school is full is because it is full of foreigners. Foreigners who live around that area anyway. It's not like they live there. And the other fact that I want your listeners to actually understand is that we have checked. The children who are there have documentation. They are not like illegal.
Right.
They've got legal documents except 5. In fact, when you talk about undocumented learners, there are South Africans who are also undocumented. In fact, in that particular school, there are 12 undocumented South African learners who we are assisting through the Department of Home Affairs to get proper documentation.
All right,
there are only 5 undocumented learners who are following.
I need to wrap it up. Nkosi Nkqubo, thank you very much. Head of Department for the Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal. I'm sure that's going to get a reaction. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. Zai, we're going to take you after news headlines and traffic. It's 7:30.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the World Economic Forum will resume hosting its Africa Summit in South Africa in April next year after a 7-year-long absence. This was confirmed by the Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille in Davos, Switzerland. EFF leader Julius Malema will be back in the East London Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape today for pre-sentencing proceedings. This follows his conviction for discharging a firearm during the EFF's 5th anniversary celebrations in 2018. And Limpopo Premier Poppy Ramathuba says the provincial budget will be reassessed to support communities that have been affected by floods in the province. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, good morning. If you've got to get through the central East London, the CBD area this morning, might be a good idea to do it a little bit later. You've got big crowds of supporters moving from sort of all parts of East London in towards that Magistrates Court on Buffalo Street, just south of the main drag of Fleet Street. So that's all closed off down there. Routes that are open are likely to have marching convoys of big numbers of supporters, well over 100 buses lining up along the Esplanade to get those supporters in. We're talking big numbers in East London. Court case, I understand, gets underway at 9, so hopefully it won't sort of last all day, but the real pressure will be this morning getting through towards the work option. Joburg, the N1 North, very heavy again this morning up to Deepcliff Interchange. It's a route that gets busier by the week. The R59 is heavy coming in from the Vala crash before Swat copies, and the N3 North passing Sprayview. Heavy delays up towards the Heidelberg Road off-ramp this morning. Durban N2 jam-packed. It's the busiest it's been for a while, with a breakdown just past Spaghetti Junction in the roadwork. So traffic piled and parked back almost to the cement factory. It's a really bad run trying to get through to Umgena Road this morning. Behind that, the N3 coming in from Pavilion, jam-packed to get into that N2 at Spaghetti Junction. And there's an ab load normal, moving very slow or not moving at all. N3 Pietermaritzburg bound just after Ashburton. So if you're stuck there, that's quite heavy as well. Cape Town, the N2 inbound, clear through Khayelitsha. Hit a wall of traffic from about Robert Sobukwe all the way through to Hospital Bend. And Main Road between Muizenberg and Cork Bay, unusually busy for this time of morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Morning, Zai. Building up to the World T20 or the T20 World Cup.
Yes. And we've got a left field pick from Coach Shukri Conrad. But he has moved very quickly to quiet the noise around Jason Smith's T20 World Cup selection. Conrad says the MI Cape Town all-rounder is no wild card, calling him a proper batter with versatility to slot in anywhere from 3 to 6. Now, Smith is a former Under-19 World Cup winner. He has impressed in the SA20 with his power hitting. More cricket, teenager Luandri Pretorius timed his return to form perfectly, hitting 51 of 34 balls as the Paarl Royals knocked the Joburg Super Kings out of the Betway SA20, and that all happened at Centurion. The Royals had 210 for 5, but that was way too much for the Super Kings, who finished on 174 for 8. In the meantime, South Africa suffered a 55-run defeat to the West Indies in their final Under-19 World Cup group match in Windhoek. West Indies posted 233 and South Africa bowled out for just 179. More cricket. England struggles continue. They lost their first ODI against Sri Lanka in Colombo. Chasing 272, England collapsed on a turning pitch, losing 8 wickets for 84 runs to be bowled out for 252. Let's go to some action in golf, where the former Open champion Francesco Molinari leads the Dubai Desert Classic after a superb 7 under par 65, his lowest European Tour round in 2 years. And finally, athletics, 3-time Comrades Marathon champion Tete Dijana says his move from Nedbank Running Club to Hollywood Athletics is about growth and not money. Unveiled in Durban alongside mentor Edward Slender Motibi, Dijana says the environment, opportunity and a shared vision was easy in terms of his decision. That's your sport. Run back will bring you more. Top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The business update on SAFM.
And it's good morning to Taoling Lachela again. Taoling, good morning to you. Sasol doing some turnaround efforts. Is it working?
It seems like it's working and investors are loving it, sending Sasol's share price 14% higher in yesterday's session. Now, this comes after the group reported a resilient operating performance for the 6 months to December 2025, despite a challenging global environment. Now, improved stability at its Southern African energy operations supported the results, with production at the Secunda complex stabilizing and allowing Sasol to lift its full-year fuel sales guidance. The commissioning of a new destoning plant improved coal quality and gasifier efficiency, unlocking previously constrained mining areas and supporting higher volumes. Now, performance across the portfolio was mixed. The Natref refinery delivered stronger output following infrastructure upgrades, while gas supply from Mozambique declined due to natural depletion. The international chemicals business remained under pressure from weak demand and lower prices. Now, Sasol expects ongoing volatility moving forward, but sees longer-term support for power trading and decarbonization initiatives.
And Vukile property expanding overseas.
Yeah, so they're really deepening their focus into their offshore assets. It's done so by acquiring a 35% stake in Pradera, a specialist retail property investor and asset manager with operations spanning Europe, the UK, Asia, and the Middle East. Vukile is best known for owning convenience-focused retail centers in township and rural areas here in SA, and has increasingly allocated capital to Europe through its Spanish subsidiary, Castellana Properties. Now, the Pradera transaction strengthens that push, providing exposure beyond Spain and adding scale as Vukile evaluates further expansion opportunities. Now, the deal became effective last month and was accompanied by a management co-investment at Pradera, aligning leadership with long-term value creation. Pradera manages a diversified portfolio of shopping centers and retail parks on behalf of a broad institutional client base, including several well-established UK assets. Vukile's CEO, Lawrence Rapp, said the investment enhances its access to on-the-ground retail expertise, helping to reduce risk while supporting disciplined growth in other European markets.
And what's happening on the markets besides the gold price?
Well, kicking things off in Asia, markets there in positive territory, benefiting from improving market sentiment, and Bank of Japan's hold on rates gave investors comfort after last month's hike. Stateside, futures are in the green after President Trump softened his stance on EU tariffs. Traders there are also digesting Intel's fourth quarter earnings. And then coming back home, sentiment also improving on the risk-on mood. The all-share gained 0.6% in yesterday's session. Meanwhile, the rand has made gains against global currency pairs. It's at 16.10 to the dollar, 21.72 to the pound, and 18.91 to the euro. Lastly, in commodities, oil remains steady at $63 a barrel this morning.
Tanya Nachela, thank you very much. More business in an hour's time.
Hurry! Get supersized savings at Spar for 4 days only. Buy 200-gram Baker's Tennis Biscuits, any two for 40, save 18 Rand. Or 200-gram Jacob's Cronin Coffee Jar, or 230-gram refill pack for 149.99, save 60 Rand, excluding decaf. Prices valid from 23 till 26 January, while stocks last. Maximum 5 deals per product per customer. Only at Spar.
The rivalry between the Proteas and the Windies hits the rooftop this summer as they both chase a crucial victory in the second T20 international encounter. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Thursday, 29 January at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC2 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
Wondering why 45-year-old Nivan has such a big smile lately?
Outsurance. Save me so much money. 461 rand.
That's right. With Outsurance, Nivan saves an amazing 461 rand a month on his 2025 VWT Cross. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus.
So much money.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
20 to 8, Jon Gericke in for Tulas. Good morning to you. It's the morning brief on SAFM. Now, the chairperson of the Commission for the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Communities has defended the work of the Section 22 Committee, rejecting claims that its regulatory efforts within the religious sector are unconstitutional. Dr. Jon Maloma is a member of the Section 22 Ad Hoc Committee. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. What is going on in this committee?
Good morning, John, and thank you for the opportunity. As you clearly indicated, we had a press conference, John, where we needed to put the side of our story in terms of the working of the committee. Indeed, the work of the committee is going on as planned and as scheduled. The presser was just there to clarify some of the untruths that were communicated to the nation through a presser that was called by Professor Kulu.
All right, tell us what his accusations are. He's accusing harassment, abuse of power, steering the committee towards undue state interference. Why is that not true?
No. That's why we presented to the nation a timeline or chronological sequence of things as they happened, and how Professor Kulu's role as a chairperson of the committee happened, and we proved beyond reasonable doubt that he was part and parcel of the committee. He chaired the 2 meetings that we had with him, and indeed there were problems that had to deal with, that has to do with his leadership style. However, the committee remains resolute and the committee is united, and we have proven and we have posted even documents to show that what he says is not true.
What is the point of the CRL Commission?
The CRL Commission's point is that they conducted an investigation before 2017 on the issues of abuse within the religious sector. They presented their report to Parliament. Parliament came back in 2018 to say instead of CRL directly regulating, the churches or the religious sector itself must self-regulate. So on the basis of that recommendation of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, this time around CRL indeed appointed a committee comprising solely of church leaders representing major Christian churches or faiths in this country to embark on the process of self-regulation.
I'm confused. Part of what you're saying is that the focus is supposed to be on protecting religious communities. But in doing that, you enforce ethical conduct within religious and linguistic communities, promote accountability, governance, and transparency. Is that not control of those religious institutions?
Not at all. Not at all. There's nothing that deals with enforcement. What we have done as a committee in terms of our terms of reference, we have drafted a discussion document providing guidelines so that when we do go around the country consulting the church leaders, we can engage meaningfully. So the process is not concluded. We don't have a policy that enforces anything. All that we have on the table is that we are going out to meet with our constituencies so that they themselves can come up with a report that will guide the formation of a council that is voluntary, that will monitor ethical accountability within the Christian sector. Nobody's enforcing anything. Nobody's regulating anything at this stage. We don't have that. If you go to our document, it's very clear. It's very clear what we stand for and what we are proposing.
All right, so just so I understand, you're creating a policy guideline that you're giving to church members in the hope that they follow those guidelines.
No. The person who formulated the policy guideline is now their friend, Professor Kulu. He's the one who drafted a policy guideline which we rejected because we don't have a guideline. Our guideline is a discussion guideline on major points that we need to engage with the churches.
Okay, a policy guideline is different to, okay, so you've given this to the communities now in the hope that they follow that.
Yes, so February we are starting with a consultation process across the country where we are going to meet all the church leaders, denominational leaders, fraternal, individual pastors, and engage them on to regulate ourselves for accountability and ethical conduct. Why? Because we want to restore the confidence and the trust of the public in what we do as a church in sacred spaces. All these things that are doing with abuse, children being abused, women being abused, people's money being taken, we need to self-regulate that because the law is not sufficient to deal with all those.
And if they choose to not join you and they just want to do their own thing, can they do so?
I don't think that they will choose not to join us. The majority, overwhelming majority, John, are part of this Section 22 committee. Few individuals with an institution or with an NGO that was established last year, August, are flooding the social media platform as though they represent the majority. No, it's not the case. We have in the committee the ZCC, we have in the committee SACC, we have in the committee the Evangelical Alliance of South Africa, we have in the committee Moral Regeneration Movement. That represent an overwhelming majority of Christians in the country, and these people, these sectors are for the process that we are unfolding.
Dr. Jon Malome, thank you very much. Maloma, sorry very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
Thanks
Dr.
so
Jon Maloma, member of the Section 22 Ad Hoc Committee. The standoff there between the CRL Commission leadership and sections of the religious community has ignited this national debate. It's 12 minutes to 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just having a look at East London with the appearance of Julius Malema in the Magistrates Court this morning. Obviously, loads of spectators in town. The Esplanade around the Quigney Beach area quite heavily backed up, and Fleet Street coming off Settlers Way over the bridge there and into East London around that Magistrates Court around Buffalo. Quite a bit of traffic disruption. Buffalo Street, south of Fleet Street, is closed as well. As that is the location of the Magistrates Court. Joburg side this morning, N1 North into Deepcliff, still heavy. The R59 coming into for the Vaal crash before Swartkoppes Road, backlogging traffic quite severely down to Klip River Drive. That's heavy. The Mike 1 both ways into Grayston Drive, pretty bad today. North from Houghton, south from Buccleuch interchange, and the N3 passing Spruitview is still a run under pressure as well. Coming out of Pretoria, it's all backed up now. The N1 with a breakdown just after Garsfontein, that's back to Linwood Road. The N4 going into Durban is heavy. There is going into Pretoria, beg your pardon. There is an incident on the N4, Emelachlanni Highway, around the N1, so that traffic back towards Simon for Mooton side and looking heavy as well. Durban, the N2 North remains really quite heavily backed up this morning. It's a breakdown in the roadworks just past Spaghetti Junction. So traffic now is back as far as Cement Factory. That's bad. It's bad enough to be pushing traffic on the N3 inbound back to Paradise Valley. So big problems getting off the N3 and into that N2 North congestion. If you're from Pinetown, maybe a route through Westfield might be a better option. Abnormal load has got itself in trouble on the N3 between Ashburton and Pietermaritzburg. So if you're Pietermaritzburg bound, there's quite a heavy backlog to work through there as well. Cape Town traffic this Friday looking fairly standard, maybe a touch busier than you might be expecting. Standout queues of the R300 from Kales River up to the N1. That's very slow going. And the Kuberg Road stuck in quite a heavy queue. If you're trying to get through to Kalani Gardens area, backlogs from Plattercliff up to Bloberg Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The thirst for maximum points has kicked in. Ziga Mambo and Amakosi are both looking for first victory in Group D. This is the bottom of the table contest of the CAF Confederation Cup. Witness the Southern African Derby. Zesco United clashes with Kaizer Chiefs on Sunday, 25 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC 1. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The best summer experience is at the cricket ground. The Proteas and the Windies are gearing up for the T20 World Cup. This is the first T20 international contest. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Tuesday, 27 January at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 2. With reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Plenty topics for you to talk about. Let's go to the phone calls at 8 minutes to 8 o'clock. Let's start with Khadebe in Durban. What do you have to say, Khadebe?
I think that, good morning, John, and your listeners and your guests. You know, lessons have to be learned in other countries that try to regulate religion. There was once a time in Romania now, whereby government even wanted to find out what you were saying to the priest or the pastor when you were confessing your sins. It gets that far when we let government or any government institution regulate religion. Number two, and the last point, when we speak of self-regulation, it's unnecessary and a layered approach because the CRL Rights Commission's very own exercise of going to find who's actually abusing religion by...
All right, we lost Khadebe. Let's move on. Stay with that topic. It's Somadoda in KwaZulu-Natal. You want to talk about the same thing, Somadoda?
Good morning, yes, John. Good morning, John. Good morning, John, and listeners. Yes, it's so saddening, what is happening in this country, really, when the government is putting its nose in the affairs of the church. Now, they are putting the church in an awkward position now of choosing between obeying God and obeying the government. And that it shall prevail that we cannot listen to the government but to God. The government, for instance, the CRL is talking about regulating religions. The politicians are lying to people every day. What certificate are they carrying around?
But they didn't say they were regulating. They said they're giving guidelines that can be followed or not.
No, that's part of regulation. I know that they are coerced the church leaders, especially the South African Council of Churches. Yeah, it is the forefront of this coercion by the government in order to force the independent churches also to be under this rule. And it will not...
Sorry, I pushed the wrong button. Somadoda, thank you very much for Somadoda's views. Let's go to Zakele in Pinetown. You want to talk about the schools, Zakele?
Hi, thanks, John. I just wanted to reflect on the issue of this Eddington matter that is on the news and the social media. One thing to note is that this problem that we are faced with at the Eddington primary school is not the issue of that school isolated from Glenwood, from Glenmore, from Bria. So it's the common problem. I just wanted to emphasize on that point. Okay, where I want to get into is that the government keeps on saying or making reference to the Constitution. But where I have a problem is they say it says everyone. I'm not within the law fraternity, but I know for a fact that when a policy is drafted at SAFM, it's for the employees of SAFM. When the Constitution of South Africa is drafted, it's for the citizens of South Africa. I stand to be corrected. Like I said, I'm not within the law fraternity. So if it says everyone, because we need to contextualize this, John, to say if it says everyone, it means everyone in the context of South African, because this constitution is for South Africans. That's how I interpret it. But one thing to note is that this guy comes in on radio. It's one of two things. It's either he was unprepared or he's lying to us. He's pathologically lying to us on the basis that he says 20 of these kids are foreign national kids, which is not true. I know that for a fact because there are people that were there that I gave the lift to go and support this movement. That were there. And then secondly, he says some of the kids have been to school within the area, which is in other schools, which is another lie again. So you come on radio, you come lie to us. I feel for these guys who are the organizers of the movement, for the Dudula, for the march and because this is what they have to face on the day-to-day basis. It's a shame for our government, John.
All right.
That's all my contribution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Zakele in Pinetown. Let's stay with education. Tango is in KwaZulu-Natal. Go ahead, Tango.
John, how's it, John?
Lega.
Anyway, this guy that you spoke to, right? That guy about the transport in Johannesburg.
Oh, yes.
He made a positive and a negative statement at the same time. He said that the guys told him that they must check their vehicles out, and then when you said to him that how can corruption? Okay, that's how I'm putting it to you. That's how you said to him, right? Then he said to you, no, you're mixing the two up. But then now I understand something, that if those guys that are there that told him go and check their vehicles out after transporting children, then I guess there's something that's going on there. Probably these guys are doing underhanded stuff. Because how can you tell someone to continue knowing that the vehicles are not roadworthy,
yes,
or whatever the situation may be of those vehicles, but they're not roadworthy? You tell them to continue, and after that, you bring it to test it.
Then you fix your cars. Yeah, it makes no sense in my head either, Tango.
It doesn't make no sense.
Yeah, transport our children in your unroadworthy vehicles, and then you go and get them tested.
Yeah, then that's when he said to you, no, you're mixing the two up. So we are listening. Maybe y'all are limited in the way y'all can approach the caller, but we are listening. So at the end of the day, that's corruption. So you know what my suggestion would be? Maybe that group, you can take it to Barbara Creasy and let her hear what he has to say. Because then the corruption needs to be rooted out, because there's some underhanded stuff that's being done. You want to destroy the lives of children, and at the same time, you want to cover it up. I think he made a statement not thinking what he was saying, you see?
All right, Tango, thank you very much. Let's go to Maxwell in Tshwane. You want to talk about something completely different, Maxwell? Go ahead.
Good morning, John. It's about the flooding that hit Mpumalanga, my province. I think the rebuilding of the province has started in earnest yesterday in Komazi. They are building that, but I do have a concern with a school that got 92% pass rate of matric. This school is in Bushbuckridge Municipality, Newington B, Machai High School, John. They don't have even road to go to school, and even part of their roof is blown off in that part of the world, and they've suspended schools up until Monday. The community were busy trying to fix the road themselves. So I'm appealing to everybody who's got power in the province to urgently prioritize that school in Ward 27 in Newington in Bushbuckridge, so that the learning can continue from Monday. John, that's my humble concern to everybody who's involved, and thank you so very much for taking my call.
All right, Maxwell and Tshwane. Yeah, thank you very much as well for calling. I heard a story yesterday, I don't know how true it is, that it's going to take up to 5 years to fix some of the flooding in the Kruger National Park alone. And schools, community centres, hospitals, with all those roads washed away and that massive amounts of flooding, it's going to be a difficult task to mop all of that up and repair the damage. So yeah, it's something we'll definitely keep a close eye on. You're with SAFM. After the news at 8 o'clock, we're going to get this proposal about a lifetime driving ban if you're caught drinking and driving. And later on, the price of smartphones are expensive. And is Gauteng a place for tourists? All of that after the news at 8.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, South Africa to host World Economic Forum Africa Summit again next year, and Malema's pre-sentencing proceedings to start today. Good morning. The World Economic Forum will resume hosting its Africa Summit in South Africa in April next year after a 7-year-long absence. This was confirmed by the Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille in Davos, Switzerland. Briefing the media following South Africa's participation in the forum this week, de Lille said the event will further bolster the tourism sector that already contributes 8.8% to South Africa's GDP and supports 1.8 million jobs.
Let me start by thanking the World Economic Forum for selecting South Africa to host the Spring Davos in 2027. We are ready, able and willing, and we look forward to us having been afforded this opportunity to host Davos Spring. South Africa is the leading business destination, business event destination in the continent and in the Middle East. Business events and tourism adds about 8.8% to the GDP of South Africa.
EFF leader Julius Malema will be back in the East London Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape today for pre-sentencing proceedings. This follows his conviction for discharging a firearm during the EFF's 5th anniversary celebrations in the Sisadukashe Stadium in Mdantsane in 2018. Malema was charged for the unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, discharging a firearm and reckless endangerment. Lobby group AfriForum's Jacques Broodryk says he'll be surprised if the court does not slap Malema with a jail term.
It's very important to remember that these charges that Mr. Malema were found guilty on are actually very serious charges. If we look at just one example, for instance, the illegal possession of a firearm and ammunition, there have been cases where people have been sentenced to up to 15 years imprisonment for that. So it's very serious charges. Of course, there might be mitigating conditions and circumstances that the judge takes into consideration, but I would be very surprised and I would be very skeptical of the process if we at least didn't see a few years prison time for Mr. Malema.
French arms manufacturer Thales and former President Jacob Zuma will now have to wait another week to hear if the latest application in the Pietermaritzburg High Court is successful. The court was scheduled to hand down its ruling today on the application for leave to appeal the dismissal of their bid for an acquittal in the corruption case. In a nearly 2-decade-long case, Thales and Zuma are facing charges of fraud, corruption, racketeering and money laundering stemming from the controversial 1999 multi-billion arms deal. The court was also expected to rule on the state's application to issue an order to stop what it called Zuma's tactics, referring to its repeated legal challenges which it deems are being aimed at delaying the trial. The ruling will now be handed down next Friday. The defense in the Senzumeyiwa trial is expected to call a new witness after Sfiso Gwabini Zungu concluded his testimony yesterday. Gwabini was testifying at the High Court in Pretoria, where 5 men are on trial for the 2014 murder of the Bafana Bafana captain. He has denied hosting a gathering in Vosloorus on Gauteng's East Rand, where all the 5 accused were allegedly spotted the day of the murder. In response to questions by one of the defense lawyers, Zitulele Ngumalo, Gwabini also refuted claims by state key witness Constable Sizwe Zungu that he was handed firearms after the alleged contract killing.
You were present when the accused handed over to you a 9mm and a .38 special revolver.
No, there isn't.
Is there any way in your statement where it says that on the 26th of October 2014, the accused, that is accused number 2 and accused number 3, were in possession of a firearm in your hostel, in your room at Basotuni Hostel?
No way.
And finally, Limpopo Premier Popi Ramathuba says the provincial budget will be reassessed to support communities that have been affected by floods in the province. Ramathuba and Human Settlements Minister Thembisi Milane was in Chakuma, Toyando yesterday. Ramathuba says several communities remain inaccessible due to damaged infrastructure.
We still have got agriculture, the farms that we can't even access those farms because they are still not accessible. We still need to look into that. So it's still going, the amount is still going to rise. But we are also saying as a province, we're not folding our arms. We are then reprioritizing our budgets. We're saying now that it has been classified, therefore our MEC for finance will be meeting with different MECs and their HODs so that we now start to reprioritize.
Recapping the top story, the World Economic Forum will resume hosting its Africa Summit in South Africa in April next year after a 7-year-long absence. It was confirmed by the Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille in Davos, Switzerland. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Wondering why 45-year-old Nivan has such a big smile lately?
Outsurance. Save me so much money. 461 Rand.
That's right. With Outsurance, Nivan saves an amazing 461 Rand a month on his 2025 VWT Cross. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus.
So much money.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Soccer action, CAF Champions League. Mamelodi Sundowns are eyeing the group control as Al Hilal. The test awaits at Loftus tonight. And in tennis action, Carlos Alcaraz dazzling in Melbourne as he rolls into the Australian Open round 4. All this and more just before 8:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A lot of traffic action coming in from the south side of Joburg. The N1 North through Diepkloof Interchange stays heavy. Queues from the Potch Highway up through that Diepkloof Interchange. It is starting to ease up, but it is still jam-packed. Crash on the R59 North before Swakop. East delays back through Klip River Drive. And if you're coming in from the Boksburg side, don't forget those roadworks. N17 towards Osborne. Single lane action through there. Crash scene on the Mike 1 South near Grayston. So very heavy coming off the N1 Buccleuch into Sandton. Also quite a backlog going north this morning from Boyson to Sandton, by the way. Also collision on Jan Smuts Avenue near Burnside. Slow coming out of Randburg into that one. Stationary vehicle on the N1 before Rigel. That's heavy from Linwood Road. And the N4 parking back from Watermeyer on your way slowly in towards the N1 highway today. The Abload at Ashburton seems to have moved on. Traffic moving a lot better there on your way to Pietermaritzburg. Still a breakdown north of Spaghetti Junction in the roadworks. N2 North jam-packed this morning on your way to Umgeda Road. N3 in from Paradise Valley to try and get into that N2 is heavy. And if you're driving Cape Town, it is busy today. The N2 from Malanga through to Hospital Bend, Marine Drive jam-packed from Bayside through Sunset Beach. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8:10, you with SAFM. Jon Gericke in for Tulos this morning. Good morning. I had to look up what a pre-sentence hearing is because Julius Malema is going to pre-sentencing today. So I found out what a pre-sentencing hearing is. It's a judge gathers detailed information through what's called a pre-sentence report to determine the most appropriate punishment, focusing on the offender's background, the crime's impact and rehabilitation needs, to ensure a fair, individualized sentence. So it's not just these generic sentences that are handed down. Each sentence is based on this pre-sentence report. Probation officers prepare the report by interviewing the offenders, victims and others, provide it along with recommendations to the court. The defense and the prosecution review it before final sentencing. Generally, the judge will then hear arguments from both sides before imposing a sentence. They say that it ensures sentencing considers the unique circumstances of each case, balancing punishment with rehabilitation and community safety. So that's what's happening today. Coming up in a moment, lifetime driving bans proposed as Parliament pushes for zero tolerance on drunk driving. Smartphone prices continue to rise. Budgets under pressure. So what are South Africans doing? How are you need a smartphone these days. And what are we doing to counteract that? And then Gauteng says they are unstoppable. Bold, buzzing and determined. South Africa's economic heartbeat and the cultural capital welcomes dreamers, doers and first-timers alike. What is Gauteng doing? We're going to talk to Gauteng Tourism later on in the show. It's 8:10.
SABC2 is stepping into a new era, Papa, where every moment tells a story. A new era of conversations with Enklik Let's Connect at 4:30 p.m, bringing real talk and South African voices. A new era of Afrikaans news at 6:30 p.m, trusted information in the language you love. A new era of entertainment, Omar Sari at 7 p.m, celebrating humor, tradition and togetherness. A new era of excitement in a new time slot. Deal or No Deal at 7:30 p.m, bringing primetime thrills home. A new era of drama, Pimville at 9 p.m, a brand new powerful telenovela from Soweto that grips the heart. And a new era of flavor with a new season of Color Your Plate with Koo, Sundays at 7 p.m. A new era begins on SABC2.
The rivalry between the Proteas and the Windies hits the rooftop this summer as they both chase a crucial victory in the second T20 international encounter. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Thursday, 29 January at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC2 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Talk about road safety for a little bit. There was a decline in overall road facilities over the festive season, but alcohol-related driving has surged. The Department of Transport says 144% increase in drivers testing positive for alcohol year on year. Lawmakers describe it as a systematic failure of deterrence and enforcement. Let's find out what the plans are with Selelo Donald Selamolela, Parliament's Transport Portfolio Committee Chairperson. Selelo, morning to you. Thank you very much. What the proposal is for a lifetime driving ban if you're caught drinking and driving?
Morning, John, and morning to the listeners of our national radio station. John, it is true that we support the call by the ministry and the executive of the republic that perhaps it's time that we must introduce the law to ban alcohol for those who are driving. And we find that it to be a compelling case that there is no justification ground why someone must drink when he knows that he's going to drive. So we will be making that particular proposal, and I think we're waiting for the executive to submit before us a proposal so that we can initiate the process of starting law formulation in that regard.
You can make all the laws in the land, but if it's not enforced, what's the point?
If we make the law, all the laws on the land and they are not
enforced.
Look, our role is to make the law. The executive enforces the implementation of the law. From the point of view where we are seated, those laws that were put in place to a great extent have been enforced. That's why you see people being arrested and so forth. But the accidents continue to take place because what we have seen, the trend that we have seen, especially with the stats that came out now, they are clearly showing that 40% of the people who died in the accident, of the total number that we have seen of more than 1,400, are the people who one or another had interface or interaction with alcohol. And that is why we strongly feel that it's a compelling case. But of course, the executive still has to do more in terms of enforcing the law. But we can never stop passing the law because we feel that much is not done to implement that particular law. We form the law from Parliament point of view. The executive have to enforce that law.
Do you also oversee the enforcement of the laws? Do you make sure that once you've made those laws, then the police are doing their job?
Yes, we through oversight process, we ensure that the executive accounts on the process that they are doing to ensure that they implement the law. Let's say, for instance, we are just from the festive season now. The executive will come to us with the strategy that says, this is how we're going to undergo the process of ensuring that we go for zero death on our road. And then we have approved those particular plan, agreed with them with this particular plan. That is why, and we strongly believe that the minister has been doing very well, because if you see what happened now, we have a reduction, because we had more police visibility, we had all hands on deck, we have the traffic officers 24 hours on the road, you have the national traffic all over the country, enforcing the law, and ask any South African citizen what happens when those national traffic officers meet with you on the road. If you are on the wrong side, you really feel that you are on the right side of the law. They don't take favors. But what's important for us, John, is that where we see there's a lacuna or there's a gap in law, we have to close that particular gap. And at this particular point, we think there's a compelling case why the minister is proposing, and we support her, that we must ban alcohol from drivers. We don't care about the volumes. We no longer want to hear about the volumes. We want zero alcohol use when you drive.
One of the issues with there's alcohol in cough medicine and other medicines as well. There's the worry that somebody might test positive because they're taking some drugs.
Of course, that can always be explained. But you can remember, if you take a flu medicine now, which has alcohol, they'll tell you, don't take this medication and drive because it causes drowsiness. So why that issue does not actually even arise, because even the medication itself will tell you, don't take this pill and drive because it will cause drowsiness. And that is the reason why we feel justified that we have been way too lenient to allow people, John, to drink and drive and say the volumes. And let me maybe qualify this maybe from a medical point of view. People react differently from different stimulus. The fact that Donald can take 500 mil and it's allowed, it may react differently to John. So we can no longer be able to separate that. And it's an intensive medical process to say to what volume does Donald react, to what volume does John react. So when we put a particular minimum threshold, it does not necessarily mean that people relate or respond differently the same way to that particular threshold. That's why we want zero tolerance, no alcohol on drivers on our roads. People who want to drive, they must arrive home and drink. Simple as that. We have lost so many lives on these roads, and now a time has arrived that we must put our foot down. Let's have the law and complain that why is the law not being enforced? Then it's a different story altogether. But let's have the law in place.
It's not the first time that this has been thrown towards you. What's changed?
It's not?
It's not the first time. The zero tolerance proposal was rejected by the committee in 2022. So what's changed?
Yes. Remember, when new evidence comes, from time to time, when the state comes, state speaks to us. Numbers don't lie. They tell us what is the cause of accidents on our roads. And we are saying, we have been able to do analysis, the ministry has done analysis, and there's a compelling case that we are prepared as a committee to go to the people of South Africa through public hearing and explain this particular matter and take the brand. And because the lawmaking in South Africa requires all of us to interface with all citizens, we are ready to traverse the length and breadth of this beautiful country to speak to our people and not just speak to them, to actually persuade them to agree with us that one life lost in our road just because of alcohol is just way too many.
Is there a timeline?
No, of course, we are waiting for the executive. The process is the executive propose the law and they bring it to Parliament. And when it comes to Parliament, is then that we will initiate our own process. At this particular time, when you have evidence like this, you then instruct your officials to now initiate that particular process. We expect we will be getting a brief from the ministry on the 3rd of the affects the outcome and these particular compelling cases. When she comes to Parliament on the 3rd, she'll then be able to tell us what is she intending to do in terms of this law formulation process, and then hence we are saying we are ready to support them in that particular regard.
Selelo Donald Selamolela, thank you very much. Parliament's Transport Portfolio Committee Chairperson.
Masandawana and Sudanese Giants, the leader of the country, have a mammoth task to illustrate who will occupy the summit of Group C. This is the CAF Champions League. Experience the top-of-the-table clash, Mamelodi Sundowns versus Al Hilal Sports Club, this Friday, 23 January at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 2. Then on SABC radio stations at 8 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The thirst for maximum points has kicked in. Ziga Mambo and Amakosi are both looking for first victory in Group D. This is the bottom-of-the-table contest of the CAF Confederation Cup. Witness the Southern African Derby, Zesco United clashes with Kaizer Chiefs on Sunday, 25 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC 1. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
21 minutes past 8. Is it time for a new cell phone? You think you're getting a new cell phone? I just had a quick look now. One of the top range cell phones will cost you almost 30,000 Rand. Not counting the contracts. If you want to buy it cash, you need 30 Gs. Sometimes as little as 10,000 Rand. You'll get things on special. It's all very expensive. Let's see what this means with Sean Durant, who's the head of business development at PayJoy. These prices are getting ridiculous, Sean. They are computers in our little hands, but they're the price of computers. How are we fixing this problem as far as consumers are concerned?
And I think when there's a demand for access more so today than there has been previously, the pressure on providing an ability to afford that is getting bigger and bigger. And many drivers, the FX, from a South African perspective, a lot of the product is dollar-based, so we're very dependent on that. We're dependent on the moving parts around component price increases. Memory has been a big one towards the end of last year, and that downstream impact on retail pricing is being felt by the consumer. But at PayJoy, we stand very firm in the belief that everyone is entitled to access and inclusivity from a participation in the South African market perspective. And the mobile phone, smart devices in particular, are probably the single most important vehicle for that. And that's where we come in and provide a model that allows people to partake and be inclusive in that process. And that inclusivity is so broad. It's education, it's being able to access the internet for research, it's government services, it's social media, it's banking, it's all that good stuff. And we have a situation in South Africa, and I'm sure you're well aware, north of 50% of our population don't have the means and the ability to develop a credit record or a credit history which allows them to enter the market, that allows them to fund a smart device for the reasons that we know, proof of residency, pay slips, the credit bureau information, all that good stuff means that so many of our population is excluded from that. And it's a real challenge. And we're doing good work as far as being able to change that, and very proud of that.
iPhone and Samsung, they bring out these very expensive flagship models. Are people still buying those, or are we finding that you'd rather buy an older phone and just deal with the slowness?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've seen it's accelerated over the last sort of 24 to 36 months, where we've seen, particularly in the postpaid space, you're taking out a 24, 36, and they're talking about periods beyond that now too. You're taking out those contracts, which again impacts the ability to afford that high-end device. There's always going to be the aspiration for that top-end iPhone, that top-end Samsung, etc., etc. You and I have those aspirations, and it's representative, I guess, of the rest of the population. But you get so much good value way below that. You mentioned, the 10 grand sort of price point. You can go below to 7, 5.5, 3.5, 2.5, where you're still getting really, really good value. But again, the bottom line is there is so much of the population that are still excluded, even at that entry level space. Where you're getting a decent experience, you're getting value for money, and you're doing it in a responsible way based on the mechanism that's being provided to afford that. So many moving parts, so many considerations. But if you really just simplify it and strip it down to brass taxes, that ability and that opportunity below 10,000 rand is really where the majority of the population sit, and they simply aren't in a position to be able to afford that. And that's where these mechanisms are coming into play more and more now, to provide a responsible way to provide that inclusivity.
And we're creating a two-tier system. There's those that can afford it and those that can't, with everything moving onto smartphones with apps and banking and television, and everything is on these phones. Are we creating a divide?
I think we're actually bridging that divide, to be honest. I think that divide has been very prevalent for too long, and the ability to be able to become inclusive and to be able to responsibly afford a device now bridges that gap. Again, I'm not talking about the high-end stuff, which is a percentage of the population. I'm talking about those participants that are north of 50% that simply don't have that opportunity. So much of our population still relies on the old technology of SMS, via the entry level feature phone devices, the devices where you can do SMS and voice calls. That has a torch and it has an FM radio and all that good stuff. The bridge beyond that and opportunity beyond that is so vast, and the sooner we get that closer together, I think the better everyone is going to be. South Africa will just be a better place for it. We have internet penetration that is so low, in terms of the traditional internet penetration. Many people's opportunity is in terms of having that access is going to be via a smartphone. So let's make it as affordable and pragmatic and practical as possible.
Jon Gericke is head of business development at PayJoy. Thank you very much.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Morning, Zai. Friday's busy weekend ahead of us, but what happened last night?
Oh, yes, we've got last night's action. There was some in terms of the, Europa League, but we're going to bring it home with Sundowns. They know that tonight's CAF Champions League clash against Al Hilal won't decide their group, but it could shape it. Both sides level on 4 points. A win at Loftus could give the Brazilians crucial breathing room. Here's head coach Miguel Cardoso.
We'll have to go to Rwanda and we'll have to go to Congo. For the moment, it's not that far. So expectations, and I'm not joking, I'm speaking true, expectations that we make the best out of this group stage, and then we have to travel probably more far away. And traveling more far away means that we have gone through the group stage, that we'll play the quarterfinal. Let's hope we have another trip and that it takes us also far, so it means we have to play a semi-final. Look, ambition on this club is to play every match to win. When you have the ambition and the desire and the responsibility and the will to play every match to win, if you do it well, you go far and far. You proceed. But we know the level of this competition and how much we need to be on our best days when we play these games. Let's worry about tomorrow so that we make it a good day, and for sure it's a step forward. Anyway, as I said, 3 matches more after this one, and a lot to fight for on the group stage. And from there, we see how the team will develop, how we'll find. But we don't worry about that. We are worrying about tomorrow. Tomorrow is a very, very important match where we put all our energy.
And that's the Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso. You can catch the action live tonight on SABC Sport. Let's go to rugby. The Springboks will return to the United States in 2026 when their historic rivalry with the All Blacks concludes in Baltimore. The fourth and final test will be played at the M&T Bank Stadium on the 12th of September, marking the first time the famous fixture is staged on American soil. The tour includes matches against South Africa's 4 franchises, 3 tests at home, and a Joburg doubleheader featuring the Black Ferns and Springbok women. World Rugby says the move formed parts of its push to grow the game ahead of the 2031 and 2033 World Cups. Cricket, the Proteas have been hit by a double injury blow ahead of the T20I series against the West Indies and the 2026 T20 World Cup. Tony de Zorzi ruled out with a hamstring injury, while Donovan Ferreira has fractured his clavicle. Ryan Rickleton and Tristan Stubbs are named as replacements, while David Miller will miss the Windies series and face a late fitness test for the World Cup. The series starts 27th of January at Boland Park. You can catch it live on SABC Sport. Golf now, and Hayden Porteous and Tyron Schneider share the lead after the opening round of the Cell C Challenge at Killarney. Both carded 6 under par 64s, with nearly half of the field finishing under par in a strong start to the Sunshine Tour season. And at the Australian Open, top seeds Carlos Alcaraz cruised into the 4th round with a straight sets win over Corentin Moutet. Tommy Paul advanced by a walkover, while Daniel Medvedev battled through the 5 sets against Fabian Morizan. The American teenager Lerner Tin also impressing. He knocked out Portugal's Nuno Borges in 4 sets. And in the women's draw, it's all to play for. Coco Gauff was tested but stayed composed as she went through, while Carolina Mukova continued to show why she's one of the smartest players on tour. And that's your sport. Jon Gericke will serve it up some more, 12:30 here on SAFM. I'm Sai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, security has been beefed up around the East London Magistrates Court ahead of the appearance of EFF leader Julius Malema. He will be appearing for the pre-sentencing proceedings following his conviction of discharging a firearm during the party's 5th anniversary celebrations in Mdantsane in 2018. Parents have expressed frustration and anger over the closure of Lenasia Model Primary School this morning. According to them, they were only informed by the principal this morning that the school would be closed today and again on Monday due to a strike by scholar transport associations in the area. And the World Economic Forum will resume hosting its Africa Summit in South Africa in April next year after a 7-year-long absence. This was confirmed by the Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille in Davos, Switzerland. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy backlogs coming out of Pretoria. The M1 South, at this stage, it's a breakdown just around Atterbury Road, but it's really heavy across all lanes all the way back to the N4 Emalahleni Highway. Joburg's Mike 1 heavy from Woodmead down to Corlett Drive, from Parktown up to Corlett Drive. Very heavy, very slow both ways into that Melrose area this morning. Joburg's Crown Interchange still badly backed up. Mike 1 from Boyson's, M2 from Benrose solid through Crown and up towards the Braamfontein area. Durban, the N2 running north, still under great pressure from the M7 Bluff exit through Westwood Mall. A couple of breakdowns in the roadworks earlier this morning has got all that backed up. Also a breakdown on the southbound after Umgeta Road, so on your way down to 4 level, that's a heavy queue as well. Cape Town traffic looks fairly busy, but easier than the first 4 days of this week for sure. On a Friday you can see that. The N2 queues from Lunga through to Hospital Bend. The N1 inbound gets pretty heavy from Marine Drive as you line up over the elevated freeway into the city centre. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Tarling Nachela has the latest business news. Good morning to you again. Online shopping numbers coming through over the festive season.
And more South Africans continue to warm up to online shopping. Of course, that's according to Visa Consulting and Analytics, which says that the digital retail spending jumped nearly 50% year on year over the festive season. Now, the Payments Group's Retail Spend Monitor report shows e-commerce accounted for 11.5% of total holiday retail spend, supported by early promotional campaigns and growing appeal of convenience. While online sales surged, in-store spending still dominated overall activity. Visa said the results reflect a steady shift in consumer behavior as shoppers become more comfortable with digital payments, delivery reliability, and transaction security. The findings align with broader industry data showing South Africa's e-commerce market has expanded rapidly over the past 5 years and is now approaching 130 billion rands in annual value.
And Clicks is in a bit of trouble. What's happening?
So what's happening at Clicks is that they reported an update and it doesn't seem to be sitting well with many investors. Growth in the first part of the financial year was there. We did see turnover growth of over 7%, but underlying challenges emerged as competition and operational issues weighed on performance during the festive season. Now, that turnover growth we did see was driven mainly by strong pharmacy and distribution sales, while retail growth lagged. The group said execution issues, including aggressive discounting by competitors and delays in implementing a new warehouse management system in Cape Town, hurt availability in Western Cape stores, costing an estimated 120 million rand in lost sales. Now, retail sales growth slowed as consumers remain under pressure despite positive volumes and contained inflation. Pharmacy was the standout performer, supported by healthcare demand and strong promotional periods. Distribution provided some support, though contract losses weighed on turnover. As I mentioned at the top, investors not liking that update, sending the share 6% lower in yesterday's trading session.
And what else is happening in the markets?
So the JSE is in for another positive start as investors flock back into riskier assets. In company news, traders will wake up to news from Raynet and an update on Mr. Price's acquisition of European retailer NKD. Then moving over to currencies, the rotation into emerging markets benefiting the rand is trading stronger against major global currency pairs at 16.11 to the dollar, 21.74 to the British pound, and 18.92 to the euro. In commodities, oil remains pretty steady, still trading around that $63 per barrel mark. And then back to equities, stateside futures are in the green after President Trump softened his stance on EU tariffs. Traders, they are also digesting some earnings, particularly from Intel. And then lastly, in Asia, those stocks on track to close the day in positive territory, of course, benefiting from improving market sentiment and the Bank of Japan's decision to keep rates on hold.
Darling Lechela, thank you very much. Have a lucky weekend.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Take some phone calls. 22 minutes to 9 o'clock. The Oscars nominees were handed out overnight. The Oscar nominations were out there. Some big names, and there's a new record for the amount of Oscar nominations. Sinners has got 16 Oscar nominations. Previous title holder, All About Eve, Titanic, and La La Land all had 14. Seen Sinners. Now I'm going to have to go to the cinema and see Sinners. Let's go to phone calls. AB is in Durban. What do you have to say, AB?
How's it, John?
Lega.
John, no doubt unlicensed drivers and unroadworthy taxis contribute to accidents. However, I think that the mentality of some of these drivers really matters. Just this morning, I nearly crashed into a taxi that suddenly cut in front of me. I restrained myself from showing him the middle finger because it won't make any difference.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these guys drive like absolute lunatics. They are a law unto themselves, a feeling of entitlement that they can drive as they like. So you can have a brand new vehicle with a driver who is licensed, but if he thinks that he's king of the road and overtakes 3 cars at a time and totally ignores rules of the road, then no matter how many police roadblocks you have, the problem of the carnage on the road will remain. And just my final point, the breaking news is that Miss Goliath will be suing Minister Gayton McKenzie for stopping her from going to the festival in Venice.
Yeah, just on that, on the driving. It's about moving violations, and as you say, roadblocks don't help. Well, they do in certain circumstances, but you got to have police in vehicles driving up and down the road and finding these people who go through red robots and overtake on solid lines and things.
Now, you'll need a lot of police vehicles to look into that.
All right, AB, I think that's the point, right? AB in Durban. Let's go to Pumzile in the Eastern Cape. What do you have to say, Pumzile?
Good morning. How are you, John?
Lego, go ahead.
Great, man. Look, man, I am very much concerned about the line of questioning by the ad hoc committee. This other night, I was actually watching the way they were actually questioning Robert McBride, especially this member of parliament, Skosana from the MKP. You know, to me, it's good to have those processes to interrogate, but not to divert into sort of a personal sort of vendetta, so to speak. Because his line of question was more personal than trying to establish facts around the terms of reference as outlined for the ad hoc committee by Parliament. To ask questions like girlfriends and bookings and what, to me, does not form any relevance, you know. So I think there must be a way the chairperson should give guidance. And to me, the chairperson is too lenient in a way. He was supposed to have given sort of a guidance, in fact, as to how questions should be asked to those that are invited to testify in that committee. So honestly, John, the chairperson should be more of material gain for the committee itself and rule out of order any notion to sort of ridicule what you call. And this chapter is the second time.
Yeah.
Mary DeHaas was the first victim of Skosana.
Yeah, and there's been, all right, I need to move on, but your point is well made. There's also been criticism that that there's been a lot of politicking in this ad hoc committee. But yeah, this is why you're listening to it live, so that you can make these informed decisions, and hopefully we get some sort of resolution out of this. It's 19 minutes to 9.
Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Let's talk about Gauteng, or Johannesburg in particular. There's a campaign that Johannesburg. The campaign is a new year, a new chapter, a new energy. Barbara Gaughanediwe is the spokesperson for Gauteng Tourism. Barbara, why should we come to Johannesburg for a tourism spot?
Good morning, John. It's a new buzz, it's a new energy. You know, Johannesburg in particular is an inspirational destination. When a child is born in Matatiele or in Lusaka or in Gaborone or in Arusha, they can't wait to come to Johannesburg and Gauteng Kwandoba Siaduma. So now that gold rush, it's a rush of people. So we have 16.5 million people that are our new gold. So the campaign that we're launching as Gauteng Tourism is firstly to welcome the newcomers, the first-timers into our golden province. But we can't do that as Gauteng Tourism. We want all the 16.5 million people to play champion host. We want you, John, when people are coming to start working at the SAFM studio for the first time, they are coming from the coast. You need to take them around. You need to show them the sports. We want you to play a champion host. So we are welcoming the first timers, those that are coming for studies, those that are coming for new job opportunities, and we are showcasing them the do's and the don'ts, how to combat a taxi going to town, and how to really become a Gautenger, and how to walk with gold under your feet, which characterize the energy and the buzz that we have here.
Are you hoping, Barbara, that the tourists, when they come in, they land at OR Tambo and then they quickly jump on a flight, they go to Cape Town or Durban or wherever they might go? You're hoping they'll spend more time here?
That's an old story, John. Over the past 6 years, that have changed dramatically. We have increased our bed nights from 11 to 15, the highest in the country. Our tourism revenue in Gauteng sits over 43 billion rand. We are number one most visited provinces by far. The nearest in the Western Cape sits at 23 billion rand. So that's cheese and chalk. More people are staying. More people are looking for authentic experiences. Gone are the days where animals and the mountains and the sea used to be a major attraction. People are looking for authenticity, are looking for real life experiences. They are looking for wellness. But as they do that, they are also looking for opportunities. Remote working, what we call pleasure tourism, is the order of the day. So they come in here, they have their business meeting, and they are able to play golf in our pristine courses. They are able to jump into the Joburg hop-on-hop-off bus and end up at the Mandela and Gandhi Cell at Cornhill, and also play music at an Alicia Keys design studio inside our World Heritage Site. So it's a mixture of all of those, and you find this. So Gauteng accounts to the highest number of what we call visiting friends and relatives. It's an important market segment. So it has the highest of all the provinces in the country, and also those that are visiting from the likes of Australia, from the like of the UK, because we have a lot of immigrants community here. So our campaign is to focus on everybody knowing what to do. We don't want you, John, to be a boring host when your cousin from New Zealand or from the UK has visited you. We want you not to take them to an expensive restaurant in Fenton. We must take them to a Mohodu Monday in our township for an experience.
That's the challenge, right? I was in Vilakazi Street the other day, and it's like Disney World. It's like Disneyland South Africa. It's all very touristy. You're hoping that locals show visitors more than just the regular spots.
Absolutely. We want locals to be able to take you to an SA20 test match using the Gautrain. We want locals, when it's school holidays in April, to take you to an aviation museum in Germiston, the biggest aviation museum in Africa. The flight that flew over Ellis Park in 1995 is retired. The children are able to do flight simulation. So it's not just tourism, it's learning. When you take the kids to Cradle of Humankind, they are able to ace that test because it's now part of the curriculum. So that's what this campaign is anchored on. We want the people of Gauteng to design 20 must experience offerings every quarter, and they must be able to take those that are coming into the province along that. Who knows, that might lead into entrepreneurial opportunities, more tour operators. We want to launch the sports tourism routes. We want to launch the fashion routes so that we diversify, we create more opportunities. You can imagine if you are hosted at FNB Stadium on a sports tourism route and Simpiwe Chabalala is your tourist guide who scored that fabulous World Cup goal. That is priceless, and people can pay any amount of dollar or yen for such an experience. And that's what Gauteng has to offer. It's beyond just the mountains or the sea. It's an authentic lifestyle experience that is unparalleled in the continent.
The big issue, the elephant in the room, is the safety and security, Barbara. Is that something that is being sorted out? You don't want to go on a walking tour in the middle of the CBD.
It's absolutely a big issue that we are not hiding. We are confronting it head on. And we will have seen, we're quite happy with the support from the private sector, for example. The CBD revitalization program, some of the big banks have come to the party because the security starts with us. It's us that hides this comes back. But I can guarantee you, John, that if you go to Vilakazi Street and try and snatch a bag from a tourist, the community there will be the first one to apprehend you and hand over to the law enforcement agency because they've seen the benefits of tourism. They have been able to sell their products and take their kids to school. So we want a transformative tourism growth that deals with crime, that deals with clean cities. We have seen how a cleaner Johannesburg has resulted in more movies being shot there. People are able to reinvest back into the city, companies go in there. So it's a dual responsibility for the community, for the hawkers that knows that if I sell my products here and I leave the place dirty, I'm disinvesting in in the city. No amount of CCTV cameras and people walking in the street will be able to unearth scumbags that we are hiding in our houses.
Barbara Gauganadiwe, thank you very much. Spokesperson for Gauteng Tourism. Is Gauteng a tourist destination? Let's see if it can be. Bring on the bucks. Bring on those pounds and the euros and the dollars. It's 10 to 9.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Oh, it's dreadfully slow coming out of Pretoria at this hour, just when things should be starting to ease. It's unfortunately going the other way. It's a breakdown just by Atterbury Road, and Friday volumes enough to push a queue back through Linwood and back towards the N4 Emerald Highway. If you join at Garsfontein, somewhere like that, you're fine. But if you come through from the N4 or try to get off the N4 onto the N1, it's all lanes super thick, super heavy there. Joburg's Mike 1 really busy this morning into Caller Drive, southbound from Woodmead, northbound from Houghton. If you're on your way towards or through that Santon area, it's all heavy. And the N17 back Boksburg through towards Wadeville into a single lane section towards Joburg into the roadworks. That's still quite heavy as well. Durban, the N2 North, still very busy this morning as you get up through Spaghetti Junction. It's eased off magnificently compared to what it was, but there's still a queue moving into the roadwork section. Breakdown now southbound before Spaghetti Junction, so coming through from McGenna roadside, that is quite slow. And Cape Town Marine Drive, still lingering queues, Bayside through to Sunset Beach, and the N1 into town quite slow from Woodstock over the elevated freeway. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Masandawana and Sudanese Giants, the leader of the country, have a mammoth task to illustrate who will occupy the summit of Group C. This is the CAF Champions League. Experience the top-of-the-table clash. Mamelodi Sundowns versus Al Hilal Sports Club. This Friday, 23 January at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2. Then on SABC radio stations at 8 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sports.
For the love of the game.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Take calls. We'll go through some voice notes as well. The phone call on that number. You can send voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's go to Gary in Bloemfontein. What do you have to say, Gary?
Hi, morning, John. Good to hear you in the morning.
Thanks.
I just want to say, given the examples for the youngsters coming through, with all these commissions and stuff like that, why is it so prevalent? When you get suspended, you come back, you get the promotion and the increase. What kind of example are you setting?
So it's just an example. Is that what you're talking about? So just go away gracefully as it should be.
Not a wonder half the police force is suspended, plus the minister, because when you come back, you get an increase and you get a promotion.
All right, good point, Gary in Bloemfontein. Thank you very much. Max in Welkom, what do you have to say?
Good morning, John, and thank you very much for holding the fort. John, these people that are complaining about the regulation of the religion, they are missing the point. People have been had pesticides sprayed on them, and then we had Omotoso. We had so many atrocities that were perpetrated by people that were claiming to be religious leaders. So if they don't regulate themselves, then the government has a responsibility to protect the citizens.
You see, then there's this worrying that the government starts jumping in, and don't you want freedom, separation of church and state?
No. Actually, what the government is saying is that they must put up a committee that is going to regulate themselves. The government is not the one that is going to regulate them. They are going to regulate themselves so that those people that are doing the omotosos, the pesticide spraying on people, that things must stop.
But if a religion chooses to do that, why must they stop?
No.
Where does it end? When it comes to getting involved in churches?
That's violation of human rights. You know what happened in Kenya recently, John? We had 100 people that killed themselves because they were saying Jesus is coming tomorrow, and he never even came even today.
Right.
So we can't allow people to be abused and then the government is doing nothing. Then it's not a government of the people by the people.
Is there a line, Max? I need to move on. Is there a line?
Yeah, there is a line. A line is if they agree to regulate themselves, then the government will stand aside.
All right, Max in Welkom. Let's go to Eunice in Johannesburg. What do you want to talk about, Eunice?
Hey, John. I want to talk about this Gabriela, Goliath story. Now, my concern here is that since the story broke and Gayton McKenzie went against government policy, there hasn't been any word from the president's office. Now, that is my concern. You've had various media workers associations that have issued out statements. There's an online campaign going on for asking for the removal of Gayton McKenzie, but the president's office hasn't uttered a word again on this matter. And that really is my concern. The one question I would like to ask the Minister McKenzie is that in his tenure now as sports minister, what has he done? He must show me, it's no use just jumping when the Bafana is playing or the Springboks are playing or the Proteas. Show me in any underprivileged area what sporting facilities has he put up, or in the arts, the department, whatever he's done in terms of in underprivileged areas. So the silence from the president's office is rather sad for me on this particular matter.
Eunice in Johannesburg, thank you very much. The Daily Maverick have quite an intensive article on the Gabrielle Goliath suing Gayton McKenzie over cancellation for that Venice event, listing 2 or 3 things. And the one big worry is that this cancellation is that artists might have to self-censor now to ensure that their work complies with the views and beliefs of those who happen to hold high executive office, according to the law. It erodes freedom of expression, she argues. Interesting. And that's not going away, that story. Let's take some voice notes. 0614 104 107. Plenty on driving, also on the churches. Let's see what you have to say.
Good morning, Warren again. Just to add a rider. And like the gentleman from Parliament says, you lose your license for life. Take away the man's driver's license and take away his car. Then people will start learning. Warren Stattheim, and really have a good day and drive safely. Cheers, bye.
Good morning, John. Listening to this person speaking about the traffic and people drinking and driving, it's absolutely nonsense. On Friday and Saturday nights, people party on the beachfront in Durban, and then what happens after that? They haven't slept, they're drunk, and they get into their vehicles. Nothing ever gets done about that. So I think this man's just talking nonsense. There's no law enforcement about this, and so I just can't listen to him because it's nonsense.
Morning, John. Switch here. With respect to the CRL and the religious bodies and the regulations, it's interesting that people of religion, people of the church, have to be helped to instill in them good conduct. People of the church that are supposed to be leading in that aspect is very interesting. It just shows what the church actually stands for, as opposed to what it is supposed to be standing for.
Good morning, John and SAFM listeners. John, I think what is happening in schools, South Africans are claiming their country back. For the past 31 years, South Africans have been compromised by using a word xenophobic. So for them to reclaim their country, they knew, the ANC government, that South Africa, the time will come when South Africa will reclaim their country. Lucian Gauteng.
It's not like...
Good morning, John and your listeners. It's Anon Mazie in Cape Town. I think it should be the foreigners that go and vote, because they are the ones that are benefiting to this scam so-called democracy in South Africa. They are the first preference. They get everything for free at the expense of us, our taxpayer, of us as taxpayers. They should be the one who should go and vote.
Morning, John. It's Bonga from GQ. I think with regards to these non-compliances that we are getting in our roads, let's take the parents of those kids 13 poor kids that lost their lives in the Vaal area. I think those guys should try litigation. I think that's the only way we'll get government, because at the end of the day, they are the custodians of compliance in our roads. Thank you.
Hi, John. This is Musa from Watuguza. Your guest, Mishak from the Transport Association, appears to be under the illusion that a negotiation means that law enforcement gets suspended. How wrong, gentlemen, is. I thank you.
Good day, SAFM. Hey, this guy is talking nonsense. Nonsense. Honestly, you should have even cut him off. Because what he's saying is something that's irrelevant. He's trying to justify nonsense, this guy. I thank you, SAFM. Nino from Chembisa. So angry with that guy.
That's the show. Thank you very much. Till I speak again on Monday. Zelma pushed the buttons, and Du Tabello and Melissa produced the program. I'm Jon Gericke. It's 9 o'clock.
In our top stories, security beefed up ahead of Malema's appearance and US withdraws from the World Health Organization. Good morning. Security has been beefed up around the East London Magistrates Court ahead of the appearance of EFF leader Julius Malema. He will be appearing for the pre-sentencing proceedings following his conviction of discharging a firearm during the party's 5th anniversary celebrations held in Mdantsane back in 2018. His conviction includes the unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, discharging a firearm in a built-up area, and reckless endangerment. Hlumisa Qabaka reports.
Thousands of EFF supporters have gathered in East London and are expected to make their way towards the East London Magistrate Court ahead of the pre-sentencing proceedings. Party members strongly believe this case is politically motivated and have vowed to support their leader, who has indicated that he will appeal any sentence imposed on him. Malema has boosted his legal team by roping in senior advocate Thembe Kangcukaitobi.
The trial of 3 people accused of stealing $580,000 at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Palapala farm in Limpopo is expected to resume at the Modimolle Regional Court today. The defense lawyers are expected to start cross-examining the cell phone data analyst who gave evidence for the state this week. The accused Emanuela David and Joseph siblings Floriana and Ndili Nasho allegedly broke into the farm and stole the money hidden in a sofa in 2020. They are facing multiple charges, including housebreaking, theft and money laundering. Rendane Ralipaswa reports.
Now, the state has concluded its evidence-in-chief. A cell phone data analyst testified that cell phone tower mapping has placed the accused and other people in the vicinity of the farm on the day of the theft in February 2020. The court heard that the accused and other people